I had this pressure of like, I want to give NiKo this major trophy, you know? I had it in my mind, and ever since like we started the bootcamp, I told him, hey, I want to come and win the major. And I obviously had it, and then that's why I like HLTV posted a video of me crying, you know? Because I really wanted him to win a major with me. That was like my dream since I got told that I wanted to, that G2 wanted me to play with for them. So yeah. And also Modesty, I bet he had it for sure.
The world is changing quickly. Clear. Shut up. The world is changing, but one thing remains the same. Victories with 1xBet.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
It was more than a game. It was everything. Every single emotion on display. Not a moment missed. This was CSGO through the lens.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Counter-Strike fans across the globe, welcome to another episode of HLTV Confirmed, brought to you in conjunction with our sponsors, 1xBet. Remember to gamble responsibly, and Skin Place. If you're in the marketplace to sell some skins, head over to Skin Place. Check out what they've got going on over there. Tonight, we are bringing you an episode with Prof, Striker, myself, and later on at 9 p.m., an hour from now, malbs from G2 will be joining us. And the hour of power, which we're going to call it, we'll just be focusing a bit more on malbs. So the show, to start things off, just to get everyone up to date, if you're joining us for the opener, we'll be talking about the news or the regular bits and bobs that we do. When malbs gets here, it'll be very malbs focused. Okay. Now, Prof, why is your background green?
I don't know.
You didn't want to insert anything?
I wanted to. No, I'm just in Belgrade right now, so I'm here hosted by Relog, which are very kindly hosting me here. People might recognize this green screen from Flames playing Blast Bounty. I think it was the same room. And I also have Leshko next door casting some, not FIFA, the other game. So just in case you know, no Striker. Chad, do you know who Leshko is?
Yeah, I do. I know who he is. I did an interview with him in Katowice one year.
Yeah. But anyway, he said if he's too loud, that I need to go over and tell him to shut up. So just in case you guys hear anything, let me know.
Okay. And Striker, leader of the Gooners, joining us. Were you happy with Jimmy's performance gooning things up in Cluj?
I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. I spent the last week on vacation, so I'm very lost about this reference.
That's what a gooner would say. Okay, well, let's start, because we have only an hour to talk about general things before malbs gets here, so we won't waste too much time with some silly business. Let's get straight into things. So, if people have been paying attention, there's been some Valve updates to the VRS and the rulebook. So I just want to dig into these. And everybody is aware of Eli 5, explain it like I'm 5. We're going to do Eli S, explain it like I'm SPUNJ. And I won't be the one doing the explaining. Striker will. So, Striker, over the last week and a bit, I know you've been on vacation, but you love this stuff. You do this stuff in your sleep. So I can't imagine that you've missed any of this action.
That's true.
There was a couple of things that came out from Valve. One of them was redefining tournament main stages, making changes to invites and wildcards. That came out about a week ago, I would say. And that one,
I feel like that is literally like Valve copying Striker's homework. That's how it feels. It's literally the whole argument we had like 2 episodes ago about, yeah,
but this teacher's pet, man, he's taking an apple and putting it on their desk and shit and saying, here you go, guys, fix this. And it's like, come on, man, let the rest of us have a chance, man. Striker, why are you getting it all fucked up? I was petitioning to go the other way and you've gone and they've locked it down more.
But they haven't. What are you talking about?
I thought they defined that, wasn't it essentially what they were saying is Valve also redefined a main stage of a tournament, defining it as the stage of a tournament past which no roster enter. Right?
Yeah, of course, but that's not, it is.
Oh, he's too fucking loud, bro.
Oh, I can hear, we can hear it now. Okay. I guess you just opened it up. No, but that's actually the opposite of what happened. It's just about kind of simplifying it and rather not making it look like the close qualifier portion is actually a requirement, and then just getting away from that definition in the first place, because then you don't get into the weird place of like you call a group stage a close qualifier and then playoffs is a main event and all that stuff, so this is a place where, okay, this is the last place, like from this point onwards teams are getting eliminated, all the teams are in a place where they can get eliminated, so like no more skipping past this point, or whatever, so I think that's has nothing to do with closing it down more. If anything, is just simplifying the definitions of things and just removing the requirement for close quote. Jesus Christ. How is that? Do you have a door open between you guys, or what's going on?
What fucking game is he even doing?
It's a whole wall with like audio stuff.
What is he doing? Which match?
It's like no, it's not even CS. It's not FIFA. It's the other one, which is also not called FIFA, but yes.
PES?
Yeah, but it's not called that either. I'm just adjusting my noise gate a bit.
Okay,
I can put it a bit up.
Anyway, I think if anything, they made it way more relaxed. All the updates that came in with the rulebook last week, way more relaxed. Everybody I've spoken to says it's been a massive help. It is a huge fucking improvement. And quite honestly, I can see very little wrong with the rulebook anymore. After there was so much confusion around it from all kinds of sides, this was an update that actually improved pretty much all of the main points of criticism. So I'm not really sure what you mean by being more closed.
So then I've misunderstood it. So Valve also redefined the main stage of a tournament, defining it as the stage of a tournament past which no rosters enter.
Yeah.
Rosters are only eliminated past this point.
Yeah, but that's just like to kind of redefine what is the main, not redefine, but more like clarify what actually is considered the main stage of a tournament, and effectively that was done just so that you can. That's the point where all the teams have to be invited towards, like there's no inviting further up in the chain. But,
I have a question. This was supposed to be explained like I'm 5. And
yeah,
like,
I'm not getting.
I don't get any. I'm no smarter
because
than I was before.
I don't think this line actually doesn't really matter. It's just more like that they removed the whole close qualifier definition entirely and then just replace it with this clarification where, okay, this is what we look at as a main stage. A main stage being there's no more stages further where teams start at a later point. So this is the stage where everybody starts.
Stage 2 of Katowice or stage 2 of EPA.
Yes, that would be the main stage of that's where the main stage is. From that point onwards, we're in the main event, effectively, is what Valve are saying. When no more teams are starting at a later point than we are at now, that's the main stage.
Okay.
So when everybody starts, effectively, like where there's no more skipping, that means that you're in a main stage, like where, yeah, as they say, like where there's only opportunity for elimination.
Okay.
So that really doesn't
have any impact.
Honestly,
it doesn't really have any impact. It really is just kind of a clarification or redefinition of what it means, what the main stage means. But it already functioned this way. It's more of just a rewording of the rulebook.
Okay, so nothing changed, just the
not
wording.
In that sense. If anything, like just to put it together.
Do you want the article link?
Up. No. I think the article maybe doesn't quite hit the main point of like the three biggest changes that that happened. Basically, like I'm just opening up an email because Valve actually emailed me about this before it
must
happened.
be nice.
Which was amazing
this
to me.
guy.
And it was like during my vacation, so I noticed it like 3 days late, and I'm like, okay, this actually happened. There we go.
I mean, I think
okay. So broadly the changes. So what they told me, right? So broadly the changes are clarify and relax the invite requirements for tier 1 and tier 2 events, relax the wildcard definition and permit tier 2 wildcard invites and events, and allow replacement of America slots with North America / South America invites. And that actually happened with Asia as well. I think that probably happened as they had a slightly different version afterwards. That I don't know if that got added as a secondary thing or what, but those three things are basically what happened with the update, right? First of all, we got away from the whole 1.5 rule that everybody was super confused about and what it actually meant and how many teams you were supposed to get invited. This was the reason why tournament organizers had like struggled with how they can make it so that you can have like a 12 invites plus 4 like coming from a closed qualifier just from certain regions, because it just made it in a way that it was way too complicated and it was actually very difficult to
1 moment, please,
follow.
Striker.
Yes,
You have a question.
Yes,
I think we are like we can just like draw the line and be like, it's simpler. People are happy. Everyone except Chad, who thinks all TOs will just stop running like 24 team events. Essentially, that's kind of like
look,
conclusion
like
here.
I'll give you one specific example of why this is better, right? So first of all, for tier 1 events, the only actual rule that you have to follow in terms of where you invite from and how many is that you have to invite 16 teams overall. That was kind of there already in the first place, let's say, but that's the main rule. And then you have to invite at least 2 from any of the VRS like versions, so global, European, Americas, or Asia, at least 2 from whichever you're using. It has to be, so that you can't just pick out one team, the top team from one, and then there's opportunity for the second team to overtake the first. Effectively, that's the reason why they're doing it this way.
So you can't invite just like top Asian team because today the top Asian team is someone you want to invite, so it needs to be 2.
No, but I mean that already you can't do because you have to say ahead of time like when you're inviting, so you can't really pick a team that you want at your event, unless it's like a wild card. But let's say that's basically the biggest reason where the only limitation now is that you have to invite 16 overall, which could be across the main event and the close qualifiers. So you could have like 12 to the main event and then the other 4 are all to the close qualifiers or whatever. And you can actually choose the distribution however you want it to be now. And it's not affected by the 1.5 rule where like it matters like at which point teams starts the certain stages and all that stuff, So it is actually much more simple in terms of how tournament organizers can structure their invites, where they can just decide, okay, we're going to have like an Asian invite or like an Asian tournament, but we can actually invite just two European teams, just so we have like one kind of like something to improve our Asian like scene or whatever like that. Like that's actually possible now, where before you had to go through kind of more limitations on how many of those teams you could invite, or like how many of those teams had to come from global, or how many teams had to come from separate VRS. So like now the rules are actually much simpler, much less that you have to follow, and just you can structure your tournaments in many different ways than you could before.
Okay. So you think this is positive?
This is hugely positive.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, there was we had the whole problem of the 1.5 rule, and like, how does it even work? Like how many teams do you then have to invite from each VRS because it actually impacted all of them? So anyone you used, you had to invite 1.5 amount. Like everybody was super, like literally I had a conversation 2 weeks ago with a TO that was on tier 2. They were still operating under the assumption that a close qualifier is a requirement. And that we knew that was not the case for like 4 months now. But after we saw like tier 1 events, didn't
like
have that.
What we just had in Cluj,
like some of these, exactly. Cluj or like some of these tournaments didn't even have a close qualifier component. So like there was still so much confusion around this, and this clarified everything to a degree where I'm almost shocked just how much of an improvement it is.
Okay, so that's a good thing. This is a positive. All right. Then there was another set of changes that came out today, which is to do with the ranking model. And the key one of those, which has received some negative feedback, I think, from the Americas, right? Especially North America, I think I was reading, is to do with this issue that cropped up during Katowice, where the ranking came out in the middle of a match day. and Gamer Legion
Right.
lost out on points when that meant they didn't get the invite for Lisbon. So now the change is that if there is an ongoing tournament, the points are not counted. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. But even
Okay.
none of it actually. So not any of the 4 factors, not the post, head-to-head adjustment that happens at the end. Actually, none of this counts until a tournament is over.
Now, within the use case right now of tier 1 tournaments, of what we're discussing in the Gamer Legion scenario, that's a good thing. But as I just mentioned, there's been some negative feedback around leagues, which some of them can go up for as long as 4 months, which seems a little bit excessive. And then that brings up the question of, are leagues still a necessity in today's game? And I did a talk encounter earlier today, so I hashed over some of these topics. But one of the things that I pushed back on of why leagues could still be relevant is because in tier 3 and tier 2 Counter-Strike, not everybody playing is a full-time Counter-Strike salaried person. They could be a semi-professional, or they could be on a little bit of money that doesn't cover all the bills, so they have to work a job, or they're studying. And a league allows you to usually reschedule matches, right? And it's not necessarily having to be hard match days based off of the long duration that a league could go for. So I feel if we set up some rules that disincentivize running leagues because of this way that the points will be counted, it's going to affect the lower levels of Counter-Strike of people who are playing and trying to grind up to potentially play top-tier Counter-Strike, but are having to study at the same time, or are having to work a secondary form or a main form of income. And then if they're having to play only tournaments that are like during the day or set days of the week or whatever, then maybe that would completely disqualify them from being able to make that choice. So I don't know if that's a reasonable concern, but it kind of feels like it is.
I think you're looking at it from like some idealistic kind of, not idealistic, but like, it's not like you can't reschedule other matches. I don't really see that as being
you couldn't if it was just like all the matches were meant to take place like in succession in a week.
I mean, that depends on what,
but
you
if
see
you look at
CCTs and stuff are like being rescheduled all the time.
Yeah.
But how long does a CCT go for?
However much it needs to, like it's not
a
really
couple of weeks or so. I don't know.
It's not like structured like there's 1 week and then this happens. Maybe like when we get to like CCT finals or something like this. But generally, you have multiple CCTs running at the same time, so they have a pretty flexible schedule. So I don't think that's. I see the point, but I don't think only leagues can work in this kind of, and leagues can also be shorter, and they can have, I think,
like 4 months is a bit excessive.
I think ultimately the higher you go towards pro, the length of these leagues seems more and more like unnecessary and doesn't really match. Like, how often do we see situations in the ECL playoffs and stuff like that, where you have like dead teams that can't make a roster change, even though they already made a roster change, like in real, and they're playing with a new roster in different tournaments, but in ECL playoffs, they need to play with, I don't know, 2 guys that are kicked, or they forfeit their playoffs because they went to another team or whatever. I think realistically, the situation is that these are archaic formats that are not meant for CS. Like, they don't fit in CS today. And I think this is just like an additional push in that direction. And we can solve some stuff, but we literally see how fixing one problem makes another problem.
Yeah.
And stuff like this is going to keep happening, and you can't really satisfy everything. And I just think like these long leagues already have been a problem. So then we probably just need to move away from them.
Yeah, all I'm saying is that I think we need to look at it from a perspective that isn't always top down, because we're always only looking from the elite level. The last thing we want to do is make choices that completely remove or make it extremely difficult for people who are trying to earn points at the lower ends and to potentially become a full-time Counter-Strike professional or qualify for a major, which is what the goal is, for it to seem impossible. That's all I'm saying.
If you look at something like ESEA main, that is not covered on HLTV, therefore not relevant for the ranking until you get maybe for the playoffs or like end of playoffs. I don't know if main is under the ECL, whatever is under ECL today. So those things can still operate as they are on like I would say that's like not like a semi-pro, kind of lower semi-pro level, right? Maybe someone's getting a small salary, but probably not, right? But you're getting to the point where you are getting salaried. And maybe at that point, then the ECL should just be structured in a different way, where it's more brief tournaments or some like shorter tournaments, like month-long tournaments or something that kind of add up in points or structure.
But that wouldn't be the case in that wouldn't be the case in Australia, or that wouldn't be the case in some of the smaller Asian regions, and that wouldn't be the case in North America. Like, how many salary teams there in North America? Like 6?
I don't know.
Right?
Blue Jays,
no idea.
Blue Jays are
Something like
there
that.
now, so whatever that means, are they salaried or not?
Anyway, I think it's not, what I'm saying is not here nor there, but it also is like, I'm not well educated enough on it to be taking the argument, I guess.
Yeah, for me, it was kind of like my suggestion to them to fix this was more to either to actually utilize kind of like a minimum prize money earnings, right? It wouldn't actually take care of the problem of like a match happens at just the wrong time in a day, but let's say you could go around that in different ways. You just release a ranking whatever at specific times, right? Obviously, like once you start handpicking, it's going to be a problem, and Valve are never going to do that. But then you could have kind of gone around this problem if you just allowed TOs to use like weekly updates of the ranking rather than the monthly one, and then you don't get into the problem of everybody's locked into this one every month. That's that also complicates things in how much you can actually choose to use a ranking after an event finishes, rather than during it, where these problems crop up. So like if they actually worked towards a more kind of like to more utility from tournament organizers and all that stuff, just allowed them to use the weekly updates and all that stuff, then I think that would have been a better case. I'm not even sure why they're not doing that. I don't know if it's because they're worried that they might actually be able to release weekly updates and they just want to commit to monthly ones. And then, they don't want to get into the problems of what if they don't release a weekly one, one time. They haven't now for like 3 weeks because they were making updates to it, so they didn't want to make updates of something that's going to be outdated next week anyway, So so like from all these kind of perspectives, I think there was a better solution. Probably would have involved more of a hands-on approach from Valve, which, as we know, is probably not going to happen.
Yeah, okay. All right. Well, this is the thing. I think that we are pretty more rapidly than I expected seeing changes, which is a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
So if we do continue to come through hurdles or whatever, then I expect things to stay pretty fluid.
I mean, that's I'm gonna comment. I'm gonna comment on the tweet that I said I did not comment today, because I think the person was trolling. But there is a sentiment like Valve don't care, and like if there's one thing that Valve, I really can't agree with that less now than ever before. Like the amount of updates and changes and tweaks, like this is kind of unprecedented involvement from Valve. So like if that means how can that mean they don't care? And I'm like getting one guide, but it's not one guy. There's more of these comments out there on the internet that are just like I don't know. This is objectively increase in caring.
I think that it comes from a position though, Prof, of like probably people who are newer, and then also frustrations about like cheaters in matchmaking, and then it's like it's just a classic mentality, right? This is a video game that now is a free video game that essentially has created a massive ecosystem where all of these different things get to thrive off upon, and it's never going to be good enough for some guy, right? Like, and that's it. Like, people are just moaning because that's what they can do.
I think it's just one of those things though that, like, I was going to say that it's great that it's like very fast updates, but I do have to say that the update to the rulebook, for example, considering everybody's already structured their tournaments for the entire year and the deadlines passed for any changes and all that stuff, and everything would require an exception, all the changes that were made to the rulebook are effectively meaningless until next year in that case. So as much as it's great that they're looking at all that stuff, like it's still going to take some time before we actually see any adjustment, at least for tier 1, although there's a lot of improvements for tier 2 as well, to be honest. Like for them, actually, that is where things are much easier, in terms of how many teams they have to invite, how they can supplement it with output qualifiers, all that stuff. So I have to say that from that perspective, it is actually extremely useful to have it happen now as soon as possible,
All right. Well, we're on a bit of a fixed timeline here this evening, boys, so we can talk more about our favorite topic a little bit later. Let's jump into Cluj, coming to its conclusion. Did you manage to catch much Striker on your vacation? Were you tuning into many games?
I just saw the first few days because I was still working at that time, and then like I watched half of the final. I didn't actually watch a lot. No,
that's fine. I think like I was mainly asking for just a general sentiment type of vibe. Prof, did you catch much of it?
Yeah, I watched pretty much, not all of it, but I watched
a good amount.
A good amount, like most of the playoffs and like a lot of the group stage. Like I watched more than I expected to watch. If I would rewind like 2 months back, and like the way we were talking about Cluj and everything, I felt like there was quite a bit of good games, and the playoffs were definitely past my expectations. So overall, enjoyed the tournament quite a bit.
Yeah, I have a lot of positive takeaways from it. So I think I really like the way that they set up the venue for the finals. Like that's my like kind of dream setup, right? In the middle, the teams facing each other. The only thing that I would go one step further is having the really expensive LED floor that is actually the radar, and we can see the dots moving on it, and somehow working out so the players can't see that.
And also paying $7 bajillion so we can teach players how to lift a trophy, but you know, it is MOUZ.
That lifting a trophy was not their mistake. I don't think that was their mistake, man.
It kind of apparently they are briefed, but I think also one thing that we learned at HLT Awards, no matter how many times you brief people, you know, when the moment comes, the adrenaline goes up, people just become very, I don't want to say stupid, but you know, they're not really thinking in that moment about anything.
On something else.
They're not thinking about anything except lifting that trophy. So we got an amazing backshot of MOUZ right there. That was
just lifting a trophy to a screen. That was the funniest part. Yeah.
I think I like the setup. I think that the crowd was great. I was so surprised to see a turnout of people on a Friday morning, considering the first game started at 10 a.m. So mad respect to Cluj and everybody who came along for the event. Overall, really, really friendly and interactive crowd. It was quite an intimate setup. I think it was between like 3,500, 4,000 people. I don't have the exact figures, but I think it's something along those lines. Yeah, in terms of the games overall, there was some pretty entertaining matches in there. We had a good group stage formats, you know, so you're making sure that you're sifting to get the best teams with the Swiss best of 3. You know, I think in general, also having an 8-team playoff bracket is great. Very, very happy about that. We've all been bitching and moaning about that for a very long time, but it's great to have PGL come in as an agitator and show, right, this is how it should be, because this is how it should be. It's a competition.
I mean, the third place match was also a good addition. Actually, it worked quite like you could feel that there was importance to the game. Yeah.
Yep. So I think overall, like a big plus, the general community sentiment seems to be pretty good about the event. So like it doesn't have as many frills in terms of like content or break content or that type of stuff, right? It's not the same level as what you might be getting out of an ESL or a Blast. But I also think that says something. Right. So is that necessarily the focus that these other tiers should be going for? And yeah, I just think Blast nailed the PGL nailed the base level blueprint for like what the general expectation should be from a tournament. Like the competitive nature is all focused on what is a good structure for an event. And this is a competition at the end of the day. Right. So that was the main focus, and everything seemed to be provided. The players and teams seemed pretty happy. So yeah, in general, I think a good event and a nice little taste test of what's to come for the rest of the year. They've got a studio event with Bucharest coming up next. They'll have Astana that will have, I think, a pretty hefty sized crowd considering that market doesn't get serviced. And then Belgrade later in the year, which, you know, Serbia having an event of that scale should be good fun too. So yeah, in general, pretty good. I would love to, however, just get some quick thoughts about some of these teams and whatnot. Something that I want to make sure we do as well is think about the context of this, right? Because obviously the big 3 teams weren't there, Spirit, NAVI, and of course Vitality. So we're not, you know, going to be saying that Brolin is the best in-game leader in the world or anything crazy like that. We're just going to be.
But what the fuck happened there? I'm still curious because I have no idea what happened at this tournament. Tell me why they won.
Why they won? I think across the board, most of the teams were of very similar status, either a new roster coming together, working out different parts. Like if you look at the teams who were the favorites, they are 2 teams, or they are 2 of the 3 teams that were favorites are rosters that stayed together or have made one addition. So those are Mongols and EF that I'm talking about, who have issues on stage, right? They really struggled with the stage stuff, still getting the reps in, which is something that they're only going to be able to build in the future. Excuse me. They're going to be chokers until they're not chokers anymore, essentially. And that's going to come with repetitions. MOUZ with the Sphinx edition, right? This bringing it in. Yeah.
I mean, they did grow through the tournament. I think
lots of teams did.
I think MOUZ definitely, you could see in the group stage, lost to FaZe, lost to Falcons. You know, they had some like abysmal T sides, but then, you know, the tournament progressed, had some nice T sides, had some shitty CT sides. You're like, okay, is because it was easy to go for the narrative, their T sides are going to suck because Brolin sucks as an IGL and he doesn't know what he's doing. But that was like also a kind of a cheap narrative to just like clasp onto. But essentially, as the tournament progressed, their T sides looked better. And then overall, you know, in the end, they didn't really beat some like insane teams, and we can talk about Mongols a bit. Honestly, it's kind of the same story with Mongols consistently. Like people actually calling them to win this tournament, I feel like delusional. Realistically, they have not shown that level of play on a big stage against like even solid teams. Like FaZe is in this tournament, and you're expecting Mongols to win. I feel like that's the classic situation with Mongols, that they're constantly been pushed like one step further than they actually are, just based on like, we like them because they're underdogs. And this is kind of the story that I feel is it's time to stop. It's time to stop, guys.
I think it's just like expectations of teams. So like Eternal Fire and Mongols play very good Counter-Strike, but they don't have reps in the pressure games on the stages, right? And that's only going to come with time. Like they'll have a match or they'll have a tournament where it clicks. And then for them, they're going to feel more comfortable and confident. I think Wakadia and Jota both look like they're in decent positions in those environments, but still Eternal Fire don't look the same as they do during group stages. And Eternal Fire, that entire event, apparently people were telling me, in vlogs and stuff, they're homesick and whatnot, which you don't get me started on that. I don't want to talk about that. That upsets me too much to think that's a reason that they're tilted. It's like, guys, you've only recently become a decent team. Like, what do you mean you're homesick? Like, isn't this what you always wanted, to be one of the best Counter-Strike teams in the world? Like, okay, you miss your family. I get it. Like, but if you want to be the best at an elite level discipline, these are the fucking sacrifices that have to be made. And you're getting tilted in the 3rd tournament of the year. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? That is ridiculous.
We had the same thing. Didn't we have the same thing happen? Who the fuck said that before?
It was probably me.
No. One team said, I think it was Spirit, actually. Yeah, Spirit, when I spoke to them in Katowice, it was kind of like, you know, tilted because they were like, they felt like they didn't get a break and all that stuff. And that's like the 2nd tournament of the year.
What are we
talking
about?
But like, how did we get here at 2 tournaments in?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I just don't get it. Like, and the thing is as well, we're in the period of time where teams can skip. So it's like, if you're burnt out 3 events in, why did you accept all the events? And then if you're like, well, we need to play the events to qualify for the major, then it just completes itself. Then it shut the fuck up. Like, what? You want both? You want to have your cake and eat it? Is this literally everybody? You're competitors. You're meant to actually know, like, work hard, win thing. Don't work hard, don't win thing. What are we fucking talking about, man? Anyway. So I think like EF and Mongols just going to need to get more reps before we can see them compete in the same way. I think FaZe for me is a curious one. I don't know what you take of FaZe, Prof. What are your thoughts on it? Like I'm having a hard time thinking they're going to be good.
I mean, I feel like they're still... I do agree with the general sentiment that they took it in the wrong direction in terms of like the roles on the team. And... It was kind of exposed against Falcons, I think, on Ancient a bit, the way they played. So I feel like they need to... It's going to take a bit more time to get on a track where they potentially become a contender team, because right now, not really too impressive with the Liege, even though I think they have great pieces. So it's not like they... I don't know. They obviously lost a great player in Robson. Got a very different player in Liege, but I think like the quality of the players is not that different. It's more like the style is very different. And considering Kerrigan's experience with swapping players, I expected more so far.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of changes, obviously, based on Elige being a completely different player to that of Rops. But they're giving a lot of positions over to Elige to take them. So my stance is, if you're going to allow Frozen and Elige to have all their preferential positions, then these two need to be the carries of the team. Broky's going to be 50-50 because of the way he uses the AWP. Rain's now having to play positions that he hasn't been playing for the last 5 years. He's no longer playing outside on Nuke, right? He's now being the A anchor on fucking Inferno. So if you're going to make all these changes, like imagine this on Inferno. You put Rain and Carrigan back together on B, which is how it used to be like 3 years ago. Then you have Frozen play the pit anchor because that's the type of player that, you know, he should become now that Rops isn't in that team. Then Elige can play the A rifle or rotator, which is what he was doing on Complexity and is doing now. And then Brokey can be the rotating AWP. Seems pretty good to me. But it's because Rain is just apparently willing to sacrifice all of the positions on every map. Like, so I think there's going to be a lot more teething issues. They're either going to continue the experiment the way they have it until they realize this isn't going to work and then have to make changes late, which I don't even know if that'll happen this season.
I think Kerrigan's capable of that, to be honest.
To make the changes?
Yeah.
It's not him I'm worried about. It's the conversation of them getting there that I'm worried about.
Oh, okay.
Who's going to bring that up? Who's the one who's going to go, guys, like, even though you want to play this position, you have to go take this one because it's more suited to your playstyle versus this guy.
But like, who else would do that than Kerrigan? Like, how do you who else do you put that responsibility on?
I think they'll smash their head against the brick wall until it
really
fucking blows up. Yeah,
I think we've seen Kerrigan just like go 180 in the other direction when he realizes that something's just not clicking, you know, and then like that somehow finding a different solution, you know. So I think that's actually entirely possible to happen. Whatever, even the next tournament when they realize this is not it.
Well, they're not at EPL, but
yeah.
I think that's also like, I think Carrigan said something on the stage in the post-game interview regarding that Elige is having to sort out his residency or whatever for Europe, obviously moving, right? So I think that's what they're trying to work out.
Where is he moving? Do we know?
I think he mentioned something at the airport, but I don't want to say.
He's moving to an airport?
I also
fucking Tom Hanks.
I also heard something, but I wouldn't want to.
If he doesn't say that publicly, I don't want to.
I'm not sure if it was publicly or not, so I would also rather not.
It's not my info. If people know, then people know. If he said it somewhere, well, people in chat have said it, so I guess they must have.
Literally one guy or
three people. No. Yeah.
But bro, your chat is faster than mine.
Hey, look, you're in Serbia, so you're further away from Dimitri's house. Anyway,
yeah, because
he's literally down the road.
I know. Okay, so what else do we want to talk about here? Like I said, because we got malbs coming soon. I don't want to spend too long.
What else do we have? Clue? I mean, MOUZ we spoke about a bit. Obviously, like the rest of the players played, like everyone played okay. Like, and also, like we didn't even shit on Brolin. We just said we don't think it's gonna be good, and maybe it still doesn't turn out good. This is the first event. Let's give it a bit of time. Let's give it.
They were favorites in basically every match that they played, if you consider at least their former level, right? Like apart from perhaps the FaZe game, every other match they were favorites in, according to the data that we have available, you know. So that's also something to consider. Usually they're the team that's going to struggle against the playing Vitality and NAVI and some of these teams, right? And not necessarily the ones that are below that level. So we will see further up. But I think, I mean, the fact that they won their first real tournament together, I think that's still huge for their confidence. You know, like it doesn't even matter if it's really working or not working. I think the fact, like, I know it's kind of a cliche thing to say, you know, but like the confidence of that part is huge. Like for you to face the criticism of like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, how is this the solution? And then to win despite that, I think that really does a lot to your mentality, and that alone could make a big difference even further on, you know. So I think like that's the dream.
Yeah, I think that the key with the MOUZ thing, right, you just touched on it, is the confidence now, but it's also you could see the way that the team can function, right? Brolin as well as Exertion being the more aggressive pieces, Jimmy and Spinks being the more anchoring and clutch pieces, which is obviously their player profiles anyway. But you saw the best of both in different scenarios. Like Exertion also having a really good final is good for him because that's where he's been shooting the bed traditionally. So hopefully that's the one that now bang.
That's when they win, man. Like every time he's on, that's when they win. Like
he's very good.
You can see that. Like,
very good.
He's almost unlucky that he's never consistent. So like he never gets the VPs. but just like every time he does show up, it is when they win tournaments. Like that's the one common denominator.
Yeah, I think it's positive early signs, and I think all you need is that confidence to be able to run with it. The only way this goes negatively is if they go into the next tournament and they get blown out, right? Like, I think they should just be aiming for a playoff appearance at EPO. In terms of how deep they go, that should be something like you should be realistic about this, which is what I'm trying to be with all of these results. Like Falcons have a good result, they make it to the final, they beat FaZe, and you can sit there and you can say, okay, so we just saw all the different parts of this team at different moments function the way it could. We saw some good calling from Kixon on certain maps, like where he was just completely outmaneuvering opponents. We saw NiKo, Dexter, Tessus all have really good individual games and moments. Magis being good in his positions again, having some big clutches. The vibe of the team seems positive. Then you also see some negatives where like they're in a 1v3 situation, everybody goes one at a time and dies. And then NiKo's like getting a bit frustrated, which is understandable. But we've seen the positive of the direction of where the team can go. And I think that right there is a good sign. It means, there's so many of these different storylines that are heating up now. And when we get to a bigger tournament where we have most of the big names, we get to see how they clash together. And that's a little bit more exciting, right? Even positive signs out of Astralis, right? Like it meant more for them in the third place decider than it did for FaZe. But I think you saw them also grow throughout the tournament because they've looked out of sorts. They haven't looked any cohesive at all. But then you look at their Inferno, and their Inferno is pretty good. I think it's comprehensive. They have some good moves. They have some good executes. They have some good ideas. Yabi's really good on that A-lurk on the T side. It keeps the options open for Cadian to be able to call around. They have been getting a lot of reps in on Mirage because people have been playing against them as a punish. So now they're working on trying to fix that. So like every team has something that they can get better at, something they've showed promise at, like EF and Mongols making sure they make the finals, the playoffs again of an event like this is good. Getting in more reps on the stage is good. Is it clicking just yet? No. But every team has something like that, at least to the top 8, which I think is cool. Like Pain are in a similar boat, right? Like I think Pain is, I'd put them in a conversation like Astralis in terms of making improvements, but they weren't dropping off like Astralis was. Pain's has kind of been like a gradual step up. But they
very gradual.
Yes, but that's it. Like they're taking baby steps, but they're still taking steps. So like I think overall, lots of positives to take away for a lot of teams from this event, in my opinion.
I think like the 3D Max loss to Saw was like, that was disappointing. That was very disappointing. That was like, it felt like their tournament to make like a, maybe a bit of a deeper run, maybe a semi, or it depends on how the bracket works and everything. And that was just like, what the fuck? You're losing to a super dead team. Like the team has been bad for so long, and they already literally signed other players. They're just playing it out. It's the last game. This is like an easy cleanup for you guys to, prove that you are a team like contending now with like the top 10-ish, and you drop to, I don't know, wherever size, 20 something in the world, realistically even lower based on their recent results. Like literally have not won a game until Bucharest or Cluj, like the group stage of this tournament, for like 2 months. It was kind of sad.
Any team who lost to Saw at this event should be ashamed.
It's banned.
Maybe not that, but they should be ashamed of the level of Counter-Strike that they displayed losing to a dead team. That's fucking pathetic. Like, and people will be like, oh yeah, but Saw are playing with no pressure. It's like, okay, yeah, but are you telling, like, based on what Prof just said, not only are they playing with no pressure, they also had no results. They were like, they were not even a team to be concerned about. They were just fucking downward slide. Complexity, FlyQuest, 3D Max, pathetic.
Yeah,
absolutely pathetic. Like, what the fuck? Okay.
Implications.
Yes. So we wanted to talk about this because on last week's episode with SPUNJ, you brought up, we were talking about like teams who were not attending the event and how it could affect them. Now, obviously, I want to make sure that we preface this, right? I don't know the best way to frame this, but the global Valve, the VRS, right? The ranking is not like, it's not meant to be, it's grouping the best teams in the world together. It's not meant to be, these guys are number one. These guys are like, at least that's how I see it. Like, I don't see this like this is unequivocally.
I mean, there's
it's just meant to be the teams to qualify for the major. That's it, right? Like,
I mean, there are things that obviously picks out who the best team is, but the gap is not quite easy to make. Like if you are like overwhelmingly the best team, it's not going to be visible in the ranking as much as it would be in ours, for example, which is just everybody else gets scaled like crazy, so it's kind of like everybody can catch up to what the top teams are doing more just by the virtue of there being more money on the line in general, like, so it's not so relative as to there being a possibility of one dominant team.
And it's a very dynamic ranking. It is essentially just optimized for shorter periods of time, and like looks at less results, so less time, results made in less time. So which means teams can move up and down quicker, which means you can get a variety of invites in different tournaments with like fewer results. Does that mean that like number 1 team can become number 30 in 2 weeks? So far, this has not happened, and I don't really have a reason to believe that this is going to happen. But there's going to be some changes, and sometimes the changes aren't going to make complete sense to people because they don't understand the full depth of the ranking. And realistically, they don't have to. You don't have to know the math behind it, but you will over time kind of get an understanding, like implicitly, just through observing it. And like it, I think when you look at the ranking now, Falcons number 6, NAVI number 9. No one is claiming that. No one will claim that NAVI is better, like worse than Falcons. I don't think you can find more than 6 people, and these 6 people being like players of Falcons.
Yes.
maybe not even most of them would say that, right? But if you look at the recent results, people can be like, oh, but NAVI was, they had a Katowice run, yes, but also all of the teams above them had like that run and more runs. They had the major reminder, no playoffs of the major. They didn't have like kind of average in Blast Bounty, and they didn't play this event. So, and before that, also in Blast World Finals, they went at last. And these are the tournaments that we have to work with, because essentially Valve ranking looks at kind of that period. It's not like HLTV that is like 6 to 12 months. It's more like 3 to 6 months. And like without,
I do think though that it is a bit ridiculous that it is not taking into account more of the competition at play, and it's kind of like it's difficult for me to see exactly like where it should change. But like if you look at Falcons versus Navi, and even in these last since the beginning of the year, which is effectively what matters in this case, because Falcons, I mean, in Heroic, the Heroic had the top 8 in Shanghai, right? So let's say that's the extension of why this is happening in parts.
That's also something people aren't really considering, because Falcons got the core of Heroic. They essentially have a better major result than Navi.
Yeah. That's the part that maybe kind of balances that out. But in general, like on face value, like if you look at Navi, who just went double top 4 in the 2 competitions that had all of the best teams, literally all of them, nobody's was missing, either in Bounty or Katowice, they go top 4 twice, then skip 1 tournament, and they drop to 9th place in the world. That doesn't seem like a realistic representation of where they stand at the moment. That is a pretty big drop. I know the teams are close there, but realistically, as you said, like, I don't think there's a world where anybody can say, even based on the result, they're in the 9th best team in the world.
But that's what I'm saying about the ranking. It's not meant to be like, it's just a grouping, right? The whole point is, as far as I understand, is to make sure that we have the best teams who get invited to the major. So like whether it's perfectly accurate or not is in my opinion is not the point of the ranking.
Well, I mean, it is the point once you decide the invites to the entire circuit, right? And that everything plays into each other. Like Navi being number 9
now.
There's
no difference between 1 and 5 for a normal
event. But there is a difference between number 8 and 9. If you have top 8 teams making it to rivals or whatever, like there's going to be places where it makes a big difference.
It's top 4 teams making it to rivals.
I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying, like, in a world where you have 8 invites and then the 9th one does, and the 9th one gets fucked, then you'll be looking at Navi and like, but they shouldn't have been 9th, like they should have gotten to that event, because it is just not quite perfect at the moment. And
but I think, sorry to interrupt, but I think it's kind of necessary to be balanced like this, because otherwise, essentially, what just happened in Cluj, if top teams decided not to go to these events, that means that other teams can't make up the ranking points, right?
Yes. Then it's pointless.
So I think the way the ranking works is actually perfect to balance out the whole scene, like the TO2 organization kind of relationship that is going on. and also just like the players essentially could just conspire and be like, we're not going to any of these events, therefore fuck you guys, you will never be able to make up this difference because we are not there. And that is not really fair. I don't think so.
But they will eventually, I mean, they will meet those teams in the other tournaments, right? And they will have that opportunity anyway, you know? So I don't think that that's really an argument for that.
But I think like essentially what's going to happen now, all the teams go to EPL pretty much. And if Navi is good, they will overtake Falcons. If they're better than Falcons, they will overtake Falcons after EPL. So I don't think that's like, okay, the timing can be weird. And I think this is maybe the issue also of the 1 month invite thing. Like if at the wrong time you lose a spot or like someone overtakes you, then that can affect like 3 tournaments or 2 tournament invites, which I don't think is realistic, right? Because that can then lose you down the line a lot of stuff. But I mean,
we saw it with February 1, right? That happened like mid Katowice. It was like 5-6 tournaments that they went out to basically for the rest of the season.
Yes.
Apart from like rivals and one PGL tournament, you know? Yeah, exactly. I mean,
which is crazy to me.
That's like 3.5 months ahead of time, you know? So that's the part where the issue with the fact that it's not quite accurate gets exacerbated because, you know, there's no limit on how far ahead of time.
There should be a limit.
I agree with that. It's
in so general. Dumb that there's not a limit.
Yeah, what the limit is hard to determine sometimes because, as we know, with visas and like sometimes the teams don't have the time because they're traveling from tournament to tournament, you know, to actually get it handled, you know, all that stuff. Like I do think that it's not an easy subject, you know.
No, it isn't. And guess what? Well, as mentioned, we're under a time crunch here this evening. So we're going to do What Are the Odds brought to you by 1xBet. And then we're going to go to an ad break and we will bring in malbs to talk through his career and whatnot. Okay, so what are the odds? And the question this week is, drum roll please, Navi have to play in the major regional qualifiers. Now, in case you missed the episode we did, I don't know, 3 or 4, maybe 5 ago, where I had the spreadsheet outlining based on where you needed to be in the VRS per your region to get to stage 2 or 3. That is where you want to be. You don't want to be in stage 1 because it means you have to play the MRQ. You're not in stage 1. You have to qualify for that. So you need to be in Europe within the top 10 teams. So if you go to the regional rankings right now on HLTV's website and you make sure you separate VRS from global into regional and just hit on Europe, you will see that Navi are 8th in the world at the moment as per the regional standings. It's Spirit, Vitality, MOUZ, FaZe, Falcons, G2, Eternal Fire, Navi. And then after them comes Astralis, VP, 3D. Sorry?
9th. I guess you're looking at the... Oh, okay, you're looking at the invitation.
It only matters regionally. It doesn't matter globally for them. It only matters regionally.
Ah, yes, of course. Yeah.
So it's 8th.
Yeah.
So Astralis VP3. I thought I got something else wrong, Strike. I was going to jump off the
That's
balcony.
my bad.
I'm doing my best to try and keep up with this shit. Gamer Legion, Big, and Saw, Heroic, right? There's a laundry list of teams after them. So the question is, essentially, will Navi drop outside? Would they be in 11th place in the European VRS for the cutoff of April 7th? So what are the odds that happens? That's to this week's question. Right. I'd imagine pretty low. That's where people are going to be spitballing.
And I'll add a little bit more context to this. At the moment, the difference of points between 8 and 11 is bigger than the difference between 8 and 1. So there's 270 points between them and 3D Max, who are now 11th. And like that gap, like effectively Navi would have to bomb out of the next 2 tournaments, and potentially the right teams below them would have to probably do well at the same time.
So what's bomb out? Just come last place of
maybe
stage 2
not
of EPL?
last place, but just not make playoffs either time, you know, like let's say that would need to happen. Plus in that case, like Astralis, Virtus Pro, 3D Max, those 3 teams
or like Heroic makes a very deep run or something, for example, like gets a final or some shit like this.
Yeah, right. I mean, those 4 teams below them, like if 3 of them do well at the same time, then that can happen. But like it is a long shot. I'll just say that much. I think it is a long shot. Especially considering like this year, Navi only lost to Spirit twice. That's the only team that they've lost to so far, you know? So it's like hard to see them just not have a good result at either of these tournaments that they'll play to make up some of that lost ground, you know? So I feel like
How low would you go?
I'll give them 15%.
Wow, that's more than I thought you'd go for.
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, probably it's lower, but I mean, it's not out of this world that they would just bomb out of 2 tournaments in a row. It happened at the end of the last year, right?
True.
So it's not impossible. And then the teams below, like we can see how quickly you can make up that ground if you really have good results, you know. So it's not out of this world. It's unlikely.
Imagine if we're wrong, Prof. Imagine if we all go low and they ended up bombing out and they don't make it. Could you imagine?
Yeah, I thought when you were asking this question, I thought you said like top 8 go in, but like this is.
I didn't look at the point disparity between.
Yeah, look at this fucking nerd over here.
Yeah, I didn't look at that, but it doesn't mean that it can't happen.
Anything can happen if you work hard enough for it.
I was going to say 10%. That's what I was going to say.
Go for 10% then. I'm going to give it 7.
Holy shit. This is one of those ones.
But if they stay as they are, number 8, that means they start in which stage? Stage 2.
Stage 2.
Stage 2, yeah. Top 6.
Stage 1 is all more MRQ teams.
So stage 3, you need to be
stage 3,
top 6 EU.
Yes.
Then stage 2 is 7 to 10.
Yeah.
And then, stage 1, which is MRQ. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, stage 1 isn't MRQ, but that's the
you know
teams
what
that
I mean.
come from MRQ, yeah.
Yeah. Put 10% for me, please, Dimitri. But hey, anything's possible, guys. So you can get your votes in. I would say definitely vote for if they do bomb out. Because if you're right, it's a free punt, guys. Look at this.
Oh,
Look
this
at
is the biggest odds. This is the biggest odds we've ever seen.
And I love it. We've finally got a bit of diversity in the odds. We're not keeping it so. Have a punt, everybody. Get out there. Have a crack. Give it a go. See what you say. Polls will go up on Instagram as well as Twitter, and you guys can have your say at home. So give it a go. That is what are the odds? Brought to you by 1xBet. We're going to an ad break right now. When we come back, we'll have malbs with us. So don't go anywhere. BRB.
Quickly. Shoot it. The world is changing, but one thing remains the same. Victories with 1xBet.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
It was more than a game. It was everything. Every single emotion on display. Not a moment missed. This was CSGO through the lens.
All right, we're back, and we've got malbs joining us for the second hour of HLTV Confirmed for this evening. Malbs, thank you for joining us. First of all, did you win your last prac game before you came and jumped into the podcast?
Of course we did.
Okay, that's important because otherwise you'd probably not be in a great mood, right?
I agree.
Yeah. So we've got you in a winning mood. Now, in case people not watching Counter-Strike, which wouldn't make sense for people watching HLTV Confirmed, malbs of G2 fame, 22 years of age, first name Mario, 12th in the world by HLTV's player rankings of 2024. What a bloody achievement that was, mate.
It was crazy, actually. I didn't expect that, honestly.
You just come on the screens. Well, we'd seen you for a while. There's a long story of malbs. People can go and check out the plenty of interviews that have been had with you. But in your first year playing big boy CS, and you get ranked 12th in the world. So where are you aiming for this year?
Oh, of course, I want to rank higher, you know? Like, I cannot really aim for number 1 because I want to have modesty in there, as I said it before, but somewhere around 2nd, 3rd, I would be happy.
Okay. Yeah, pretty modest.
Very
there.
modest.
Yeah, 2nd or 3rd. Yeah. Okay.
Somewhere around top 10, actually, would be good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Make it dead in the top 10.
Yeah.
Now, look, what's going on at the moment in the world of G2 and malbs? This is a boot camp you're at right now?
Yes, we just did bootcamp. Real quick one, just to accommodate some stuff, fix some stuff, and review and fix.
Okay, so you guys obviously you weren't in Cluj. Did you take off time between Katowice and this event, or have you guys been practicing from home? What's the situation been?
We decided to skip that one because we had to take some visas, not EU visas, US visas. So
Okay.
yeah, we had to do it,
Oh, it's fair. Look, don't worry about that shit, mate. We talk about the politics about that stuff all the time. It's more about like within the. Because what's your living situation right now? Did they put you up in Berlin?
No, I'm in Serbia. I'm living in Serbia.
Okay, all right. I'm just checking because I know that they put JKS up in Berlin when he was there.
No, I'm living in Serbia.
Okay, how do you like it there? You're down the road from Prof, I guess.
I mean, he's not right now because they're in Poland, no, right? I think
no, we're in Germany right now.
Fucking everyone's all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into tonight's fun, shall we? Because what we want to kick things off with for this evening is, I don't know if you've ever watched the show, but we do a thing called Skinionaire. And I put Prof in charge this evening of the Skinionaire questions. So we do 5 questions. They're multiple choice. Now, Prof, what are these questions covering exactly?
It's history of your career and your teammates over the years. Some very quirky questions out there. So, be ready. Be ready for everything, essentially.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, malbs, just so you're aware, every question that you get correct, it puts this little slider we have up. And if you get 5 out of 5, a lucky winner in our Twitch chat right now gets a $50 skin. If you don't get them right, they get less than a $50 skin. But the $50 skin's the grand prize. So you're essentially the champion of someone in Twitch chat right now. You up to the challenge?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay.
But let me understand it well. Yeah. So there's gonna be questions about me or my teammates. Yeah, from their history.
Kind of a combination between the two. Let's say the questions are kind of leading us through your career, people you played with, teams you played with, so we can like spin off of that, get some insight on some of the players you shared the teams with.
Okay,
sure.
Nice little history lesson about malbs. All right, people in chat, you know what to do. Type skin place right now for your chance to enter the draw, and we'll kick things off. Let's go. Question number 1. I'll read them out, and then I'll do all the clicking. You just have to give me the answer.
Sure.
Okay, here it comes. Who is the Guatemalan with the second most maps played on HLTV? Is it A, malbs, B, Cruisin', C, 0G, or D, Stalker?
That is an easy one, honestly. I think that is the easiest question. Cruisin'.
Okay, locking in B. Cruz. I did the pronunciation incorrect. I apologize to Cruisin'. Locking in B. Cruisin'. Correct answer is
Cruz.
Cruz.
Okay. Cruz. Yeah, Cruz.
All right. Well,
my ex-teammate.
Bang on. In which team was this, malbs?
Olsen, the Slash Infinity.
Okay, so we're talking what, like 4 years? Bloody hell! So just before the pandemic.
Yeah.
I was looking this up and I was like, okay, let's see who else is from Guatemala. And there's literally one guy with over 10 maps played, and that's it. Not much going on.
And those guys are all people that used to play 1.6 with me like 12 years ago,
Did you say old people?
No, they're like Cruisin' is 29 now, and then the others are around 25 or something.
Okay. So not a very big scene in Guatemala?
Not really. We are like the people that are good now playing good, like it's people that used to play with me like 12 years ago. So it's like the same people all over and over the years.
What are people playing? What FPS is popular in Guatemala?
Not really that popular, actually. Like gaming is not that popular. I mean, it is, but like it's like more fun, like Fortnite and like some, not really competitive.
Okay.
So what's the situation like though if you were playing from Guatemala? Do you like, obviously for those people who are unawares, it's below Mexico. But what's the ping like, right? Like in terms of to South America or to North America? I
used to play in NA because that's where we get the best ping. And to Dallas we would get like 70, 60 ping. Chicago as well. So it's around the same thing to most
I think that's
in NA.
Not too bad for NA. Like, isn't like Vancouver to Dallas is also like similar to that?
Kinda, like. Yeah. In CSGO it was playable, but in CS2 it became worse.
Well, I hear that a lot, right? Like it feels like the net code is definitely things are a little bit stranger.
Yeah.
But okay, look, that's not ideal. Do you think you learned anything playing on high ping? Did it give you any advantages of any kind?
I always had some discussions about this with people from Colombia that used to be my teammates and with people from my country as well. I feel like, yeah, like it's bad to play with high ping, of course, but like you can learn how to play the game correctly by fundamentals, you know? The ping is not really a big issue.
Okay, cool. All right, let's get into question number 2. In 2020, malbs replaced TRK on Team 1. Who went to MIBR instead? What was TRK's last team? Oh, wait, sorry. Let me try that again. In 2020, malbsMd replaced TRK on Team 1, who went to MIBR instead. What was TRK's last team in 2023? Was it Pain, Furia, MIBR, or Team 1?
Oh, he was playing with me in Team 1. 2023.
Okay. This question's confused the fuck out of me, so I'm glad you got it right.
Yeah, I got really confused as well, but it was Team 1.
Okay, locking in Team 1, and the correct answer is Team 1. We're 2 from 2. Prof, what the fuck? Can you write a question that doesn't confuse me next time, please?
I'll try, but it's also more fun like this. If I have to admit,
It confuses me as well. You know,
I was reading it. I was like, I know he's gonna fuck it up. He's gonna fuck it up.
I did fuck it up, indeed. Okay, all right. Let's get into question number 3 before I lose my mind. Okay. Question number 3. Try broke out with a standout performance in game that was the final one of which legend? You should say in a game that was the final one of which legend? A, RPK, B, Get Right, or C, Pasha Biceps?
Try like the Argentina player, yeah?
Yes,
I believe so.
RPK, against Vitality.
Locking in A, RPK, and the correct answer is
Holy shit.
RPK. Did you ever play with Try?
Yeah, I did in Zero Nation.
Fucking
For 3
hell,
months
how
or
many
something.
teams have you been in, mate?
It's been a long road.
He's been in one twice, even.
Yeah. So I have
and it's called Team 1.
Team 1 twice.
Yeah.
Oh dear. So that roster with Try was Coldzera, yourself, VSM, Leo Drunky, and Try. That's an interesting
It was a
team.
decent team, but we didn't get much time together.
How
That
was it
was-
playing with Coldzera?
It was good. He actually taught me a lot of stuff, and like I feel like back then I didn't agree with many stuff because like I was not as experienced as I am right now. But now I understand him, and I feel like he had a good mentality with the game.
I need specific. I'm very intrigued by what you're saying, but I would love to hear like an example of like the disagreement and like what he was trying to bring.
Like it's really specific. Like some specific rounds that it was a long time ago. You know, like specific rounds that I was like discussing with him that I will say that it was not a mistake, but he would say like, yes, it is a mistake because people in Europe play it different because I just came from the NA mentality. You know. I would be discussing like, no, I don't think this is like this, but he was like, yes, it is like this because in Europe it's like this, and it's better, you know. And then now that I am here and that I've been competing in Europe for quite a long time now with like M80 and E2 now, I agree with him completely.
Okay. Did you get your answer, Prof?
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Okay. All right. Well, we're flying through these. Let's get into question number 4. Your M80 coach dephh made it to the quarterfinals of the major. Who was playing on the team that beat him? A, Coldzera, or B, Taco?
Okay, he made it in 2019 in the Berlin major.
No,
No?
It's the
2018.
Face It major in
Face
He
2018.
was
major.
faced major
Yeah,
London
yeah.
2018.
Yep.
Taco was in Liquid? No. This
I
is
think
a
you're
hard
right,
one.
mate. I think you're right. But I mean, at least about what you just said, I think you're right. But I don't know.
But I don't know if that was who
that's
beat
the
them,
answer.
though.
I don't know if that's the answer. I have no fucking clue.
I talked about it with him. I don't
Okay.
remember. It was Coldzera. It was Coldzera. He
Alright.
played against this guy.
Okay. We're going to lock in A, Coldzera. Correct answer
No.
is?
No.
Yeah,
That
you
was
go.
right. That was
Yeah.
right. Yeah. But it was MIBR actually. It was not SK. It was MIBR.
Yes, MIBR, but also with Tarek and Stewie. So it was the mixed lineup.
Yeah.
Damn, like you like I guess, yeah, you said you spoke to dephh about it, but a lot of these you've clicked into quite quickly, and these are from the last 5 or 6 years.
This train of logic where like it was like Taco wasn't liquid at this point, like that's chef's kiss, man. That's some history knowledge.
Hey, how old you would have been? What, like 16 then?
It was 2018. I was 16. Yeah.
Wow, fucking hell.
Yeah, I've been playing CS since like I was 9 or something.
Yeah, all right. Just a short time then, I guess. All right, let's get into question 5. Let's see if we can get 5 out of 5 correct and give away a $50 skin to one lucky viewer. Modesty played his first HLTV match for New Balls a few months before joining NAVI Junior. Which team were you a part of at that time? Team 1, Infinity, or Jaguar?
Okay. Can I get like a little help of this? A hint? When was this?
I think it was 2019.
2019?
Yeah, just before, because he went to NAVI, and then we play Academy League, which was like before, like pandemic kind of time, right? First after that pandemic.
It was Infinity.
Okay, locking in B Infinity. Correct answer
because
is.
Jaguar was 2017 or something.
It was B Infinity. That's 100% correct. That is 5 out of 5. That's a $50 skin for one lucky viewer. Malbs, this is where if we had it, confetti would come raining down. Someone would come out and they'd give you like a bouquet of flowers.
Yeah.
There'd be a congratulations. You've just won somebody in chat a lovely skin. So thank you very much. And we learned a bit about you. All right. That worked lovely. All right. We're going to draw the winner. Dimitri will work that out. Our people will contact your people. We'll find the winner in a second.
Andrew Robinson won.
Wait, it's been drawn already. It is. Oh, it is. Andrew Robinson won. Wow. Congratulations, Andrew Robinson. It's probably their full name as well. They've gone, I need to sign up for this lovely, very distinguished website of Twitch with my full license name.
Andrew Robinson. Andrew Robinson is taken. Andrew Robinson won. Let's go.
Good job, Andrew. All right. Our people reach out to your people. We'll get you the skin sorted. Great. Okay. Well, let's get stuck into it. So you're in Germany right now, boot camping. You've got EPO coming up in about a week in a bit's time. We've just gone over some rough history. You just touched on a point there. You started playing Counter-Strike when you were 9. Was this from home? Was this at LAN cafes? What are we talking?
From home.
Okay. Yeah. So was your family like a tech family, or how'd you have a PC so young? Is that
my dad? It was.
Did he play CS?
A little bit with bots, like offline, you know.
Okay. All right. And then you got into CS from that age, and then in terms of like getting into the competitive side of things, what age was that about?
Probably when I was around 12.
Okay.
And around 11, I discovered ESEA.
Were you allowed to play on ESEA at the age of 11, Malbs?
I was, 2010 or something, so people were not really looking into that.
Yeah, okay.
I was you know what I was going to say? Like you asked him if he had a PCS. That's if this was like the early 2000s when people didn't have that much of PCs. He's talking about 2012 when he started playing, or like 2011. Everybody had a PC at that point, bro.
Come on, man. I'm just checking.
You're 12 years behind that. Like you're thinking of a completely different generation.
NiKo started playing in LAN cafes. He didn't have a PC.
Yeah, but NiKo's also 5 years or 6 years older. 6 years older than Malbs.
He had 10 PCs.
Come on, guys. I'm doing my due diligence. I'm asking all the questions so we can get.
Actually, just like tying onto that. So you started playing at like 11, 12, and then at 13, you played for the Guatemalan national team, lost 16-1 to like Canada, but got an ace in that one round. And he got a highlight on HLTV. That's fucking insane. That's such a good story. Did anyone actually know? Like, did people know that you were 13 at the time? Because I feel like that would have been a story in itself. Like nowadays, how we approach HL and everyone, like Twitter, like the way the news works, people would be like 13-year-old aces daps or some shit. And that was just
like that. That will be banned from FaZe probably.
Yeah. But you also didn't have a TikTok making videos, your dad making videos about you, right? So no one really cared. So that was it was a different era.
Okay, so let's kind of. I'm happy to get into the more recent stuff pretty quickly because Striker, we were like, yeah, let's talk to malbs about his origin. And Striker was a bit of a curmudgeon. He was like, there's like 7 articles on HLTV about malbs, and they're all very comprehensive. And I was like, okay, Striker, tell me about malbs then. So,
Why are you using a Ryan voice? That's
This
how
is like-
Ryan.
This is very insulting voice, man, to represent my
That's how it felt when you were telling me that there was 7 well, there's only you said there was something like 3 articles.
I am also biased in that because like I was like reading all the top 20s because I'm the editor, you know. So like I was literally reading through everybody's stories and all that stuff, you know. So I read this story like 4 times in the last 6 months. So that's why.
Well, why don't you? Let's do this. Why don't you give us the rendition
That's
of
not a good
malbs?
idea because that will just expose the fact that I don't remember all of it. So I would rather not do that. I just know.
Wow.
He went from Infinity to Team 1. Then we returned to Team 1 after the 0-0 Nation time. And then he went to the MAD and then he went to G2. Did I get that at least?
That's right. Yeah.
There we go. Let's
That's
go.
completely right.
Well,
Okay.
I have a good one. I asked Grok
Oh.
for fun facts about malbs, and it said soccer star turned CS pro. This is what it said. AI said this about you. Is this true?
The game.
No, he said malbs was a soccer star
Oh.
turned CS pro.
I mean, I was definitely not a star in soccer, but I used to play soccer, yeah. But I was not a star. No.
Classic
thought it-
AI lying.
I thought he said stalker star, and I
I
was
also
like,
heard that. Yeah.
like the game stalker, or are you accusing malbs of being a creep, prof? Like, what's going on, mate?
Hey. No.
Okay. So, malbs, what do you reckon in retrospect? Because now on G2, you're playing the big boy Counter-Strike. What do you reckon was the most pivotal point of your career? I imagine it's going to be something recent history, but I want to see what you think it is.
Like what? Like
That's kind of got you to the position you're in today, right? Like where was the turning point for you, do you think, to because you're elevated to tier 1 CS now? There's not many players who are from the Americas or Asia or Australia or whatever who are then now living full-time in Europe and playing CS at the highest level.
I would say, like after this last Team 1 period, I got like super frustrated that I could like never be good. Like I was just a mediocre player, I would say. So I was like, okay, if after this chance that I got in Team 1, we didn't do anything, I might not get any other chance. And like I went to another region, I learned like a 3rd language in order to play CS. And then I knew that if like I didn't commit more to CS and like start actually like growing as a player, I knew that I was not gonna get another chance, and like I would just retire. Like at that point when I left Team 1, I had that thought in my mind, not to retire already.
This is nice. You've given me another question. Did you have a backup plan or anything else that you're interested in school? Like because you were playing for so long, has it always just been obsession about Counter-Strike, or were you like, oh yeah, I really like, I don't know, fucking physics, or I like rockets, or I wanted to be a engineer or something? Was there anything else?
Fun fact, like when I speak to my father about like I wanted to be a pro in CS, he told me like in Guatemala school works a little bit different. So like when you graduate, you can be like engineer, no, not engineer, but it can be bachelor or accountant, you know. This is like this kind of careers, yeah. So
Yeah.
he told me you're gonna go through to be an accountant. So in case you don't make it in CS, you can work as an accountant in like a bank or something. So that was the plan B.
Did you start doing that?
I graduated from school, like
So you're in like you could be a registered accountant.
yes.
So are you doing the books over there at G2?
No, because if I do it now that I forgot everything,
I was just gonna say that make sure that they're paying you enough.
I think they are.
Yeah, okay. As long as you're happy. All right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're an accountant. That's sick.
Yes, and CS
Cool.
player.
All right. And you said 3 languages. So in
But
Guatemala,
it's accountant pro turned CS player.
Good now.
the languages, right? Is it? Do you speak Spanish in Guatemala?
I speak Spanish. Yeah,
Okay. And then I imagine you was learning Portuguese to play with the Brazilians,
exactly.
and then your English is impeccable.
A little bit.
No, but
Better.
your English
Actually,
is no, it really
actually
is.
It actually is. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
what's like learning English in Guatemala growing up? Is it really commonly spoken, or
Not
you did it
really.
in school?
like, how can I say this? Like, education in Guatemala is like not the best, obviously,
Okay.
but like they go through basics of English, like verb to be and everything, blah blah blah. But then this is another fun fact. I learned better English playing pugs because I would just solo queue, and then I was speaking English. I was trying to speak English, and then I heard a new word that I never heard of. I would just Google it, and then I would learn like this.
Okay. But that's actually like
Games
honestly,
are useful that way. Like they're so useful that way. I mean, that's how most people learn.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm not glazing you. Like your English is great. Because I thought you had maybe something similar going on as to what Zeus, the Brazilian Zeus, had, where you like lived in America for a period of time, just because of the way that you speak English. It seems so casual for you. You don't get like stuck on any words or anything. I was like, he must have lived in America for a while. But that does make sense if you're playing with all the kids from the USA.
Did. Yeah, I kind of lived online, you know.
Yeah, no, true. Yeah, fair enough. Cool. Okay.
No,
Nice.
you don't have like the CS English, but again, you know, the CS English that I know is mostly the European CS English, which is kind of different because it's not, you're not really speaking to native English speakers. Like everyone has their kind of broken version of English that they're speaking in Europe in pugs, that is like, you end up speaking something that is kind of an abomination, right?
Yeah, but I also made some friends like from pugs and everything, like Swisher, Reg, and them, you know, like this kind of friends. So they like, I would play with them, for example, and then if I say something wrong, they would be like, "Hey, you know, say it like this or say it like that." They would correct me.
That's nice. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's a nice little segue because we can jump into some of the M80 stuff. That's maybe where you know, people might have seen you a little bit earlier in last year in the M80 jersey alongside of Rex, Swisher. It was Slacks and Sin, right? That was the team.
Yeah.
And then you guys had that good performance at EPL, and then after the break, then you ended up on G2. So that all must have happened very quickly. But let's talk a little bit about the M80 time. I'm curious about dephh, right? He lives in the States, right? Like he was over there for Complexity for a period of time playing, and then I guess he hasn't really left the US since I think he did Valorant for a little while, didn't he?
He did.
Does he regret those times?
I don't think so. Furry is a little bit special, actually.
Okay, why is he special?
Because like IGL, you know, and then people were trash talking him in CS, and he went to Valorant. People were trash talking him in Valorant as well. So yeah, he's like he regrets it a little bit because Valorant, but he enjoyed it. He said.
Okay. All right, fair enough. How was he as a coach? Like, I'm always interested about coaching because I have this weird dream, Malbs, that maybe one day I stop casting and become a coach. But how was he as a coach? Like, yeah, the dynamics within the team.
I think he was one of the best coaches I've ever had. Like, not only as like a teammate, like as a friend, he was like insane as well.
Okay. Well, and what about the players within the team, right? You all were kind of coming up at the same time. Slacks and Sin had a little bit more exposure being European, right? They got to play in some different teams over the years. But how was the team dynamic overall? Because nobody was really a superstar or anything.
I think what made this team special was like we were really close friends, everyone. Like we liked each other. Nobody like disliked anything from any of us. And like we were having fun every time. Like we were playing scrims, matches, and everything, and we were always having fun. You know, like it was super odd when we would have a discussion about something. You know.
So I guess was it easy to? Yeah, I don't know. I don't really want to take the M80 conversation because the biggest Prof.
I just wanted to like, is this kind of a team that like you play, you know, you play scrims, you end scrims, and then you play like, I don't know, Roller Coaster Tycoon on until like 4 a.m. or whatever. I don't know.
Cribble, for example.
Yeah, that's the vibe of the team?
Yeah.
That's nice. That's a good vibe. That's a good vibe.
It was really nice.
So I mean, I guess that helped you kind of do so. I mean, it's not like you had like an insane year, but like that half season, you had a few really good results, and overall, you're like starting to accomplish something. I think in Europe. So do you think that was like a key part of it? Because like the team in itself, it's not like you had some like insane star players. I guess you were the one, but overall, it was like it seemed like a very much a team atmosphere.
Yeah, that also helped me to become better actually, because like I was enjoying the game. You know, I was enjoying playing the game, and we would play FaZe together. We would play scrims like improve, and nobody would get mad if someone said something about someone about mistakes or something. And we were enjoying our time together, and I think this made me like play a lot of CS and made me improve about it.
Wasn't it also after that time that you were talking about that you were like kind of considering retiring, or was that the first time you were on Team One?
Yeah, it was after that actually. Like I said it, I think somewhere that M80 basically saved my career.
Wow.
I guess that makes it easier to enjoy your time. You know, like I don't have to stop. I don't have to quit.
Exactly.
What's it like as an org there, right? Because we get to see the is it Psycho?
Psycho, that's the vice president. Yeah.
Yeah, and he would come to the events with you guys. That's kind of crazy for somebody of that level to be at the events with you guys.
Yeah, because he's like I don't know, he was like a manager, vice president, like he was everything, I think.
Okay, so you just there with the boys. It's kind of nice.
But I also actually don't know much about the org. Like they're kind of new in CS. I think they have like a pretty decent rep overall. But like, what is the kind of the organization like, pretty much?
So M80 came after Exit dissolved or something like that. So the co-owner of Exit became the owner of M80, and then he got some investors and that kind of stuff. And M80 was created. They first joined Valorant, and then they built the CS team.
Nice.
Okay. Do you still keep in touch with the boys?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. With everyone.
Okay. That's nice. All right.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the G2 stuff. This is the real meat and potatoes, right? This is what the people at home, they want to be hearing about. So obviously coming into the second half of last year, you get the call up to play for G2. You're there with NiKo and m0NESY, which, you know, it must be the dream for any player. Getting to watch, like, because you and NiKo, in terms of mechanically, both fucking sick players. I can't imagine what practice would have been like a lot of the time.
It was crazy, actually. Like, there were some funny moments as well.
Yeah, like what? You got any you can share with us?
Yeah. Like, I was a player in MOUZ,
yeah,
and NiKo Con. And, for example, there were some rounds that I can start playing from stairs instead of A, like taking the right side of A.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other team was coming for a like super strong fight mid, and then I would join him in Con. But there was a period that I started doing this like a lot of times, you know. And then he started joking with me that, "Damn, you're the Con player instead of me now," you know.
yeah. But that's one of the things, right? Is in terms of the positions that was asked of you on the CT side, you had to move from like some active spots into some that were more anchory, right? So did you know that adjustment was going to have to be made when you agreed to join the team?
I did, yeah. I knew about it.
So in terms of thinking, I'm going to give up the positions I'm playing where I am a star, and you had a big output for M80, you were one of the huge win conditions for them. Did you have any worries that would tank your game?
Not really. What I had in my mind is that I made bigger sacrifices in order to play CS. Why not make another smaller sacrifice in order to win trophies, you know? So
okay.
That's a good one-liner right there. You're just delivering one-liners all night.
Yeah.
But that makes a lot of sense. I mean, despite that, I feel like a lot of players, the confidence goes down after, you know, they don't perform to that level. But I think with you, at least, you know, on T side, you're pretty much the same. On CT side, the stats weren't the same. Like, do you think the fact that you did get some of the aggressive roles on T side, you kind of played your game, that help you be like, okay, you know, whatever's happening on CT, that's just a part of the role, and not like, oh, I'm playing like shit. It's just or actually, maybe the question is, do you even, I know most people say they don't look at stats, but they all do. Like, what is your relationship with? Do you look at the scoreboard at the end and be like, I'm not really happy?
I mean, I'm a kid from NA, you know. Of course I do. You know.
Oh dear. Well, look, I think I want to kind of dive more into these positions and maybe how you went about learning to play them. Was it just a lot of VOD watching or demo watching?
A little bit, but I also played anchor roles before M80.
Okay.
So I kind of had an experience about it, but like it was not tier 1, you know, so it was a little bit strange. So I had some talks. I had some talks with Jano, with Victor, and also with NiKo. He was helping me, like, hey, you should play like this, because he's really smart about the game, you know. He has a lot of knowledge, so he was helping me. Hey, maybe you should play like this. Hey, maybe when I do this, you should do this instead. He was helping me a lot, and also Taz helped me a lot to like grow as an anchor.
We've been hearing that a lot about NiKo, actually, kind of, you know, directing a lot on CT sides and stuff, like especially recently now that it's been the change, you know, and I mean, you guys also spoke about it, you know, now that you guys have lost him, that was kind of a big shift for you guys, right? Can you just give it kind of like an example of how he does that? You know, like what's the experience like, you know, with NiKo, and how much agency does he have like on CT sides? I'm curious.
He is super impactful, like calling CT, because he calls a lot of like around him, so he knows what are going to be the reactions of the T's. Like he has some set plays, some set reactions, and then he's going to understand what is probably going to be the next reaction for the T's. So he basically moves the team around him. And like,
is it also like in setting up the plays like ahead of time? Like you were saying that he was even teaching you kind of spots and stuff that he obviously doesn't play. I mean, he's never been an anchor in any sort of a description. But how many did you play anything together, like actual spots together apart from Mirage?
I think Barno, we did. The kind of new could work like that, because like kind of ramp has to be kind of connected with outside. And the Anubis, Dasu, I was playing long, he was playing short, so he was a lot of maps actually. I would say like 3 or 4 maps.
This one here, maybe you can't give us an answer to this, and that's fair enough. I said, did you know you're going to play these positions when you joined? And you said yes, but there was also rumors about NiKo, you know, potentially going to Falcons or going somewhere anyway. And the conversation was like, well, it's fine because they have malbs who can just take this over. Was that ever addressed with you, like before joining with the management and stuff?
Not really. Like I didn't, like they didn't tell me, hey, NiKo might leave, you know, like because
you're going to
like,
be the NiKo replacement.
Yeah. Because I also wanted to play with him and with Modesty, of course. You know, with everyone basically, but like of course NiKo, Modesty, yeah.
Understandable. 2 of the best players in Counter-Strike right now.
Yeah. But I wasn't really aware of like, hey, NiKo might leave. I never got told anything like this. But there were some rumors, of course, like, hey, maybe might happen, you know, maybe not.
How's it playing? I mean, towards the end, of course, I know I'm kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but like towards the end, you obviously you guys knew quite a long ahead of time, you know. So how was it? It almost seemed like it reinvigorated the team, you know, if anything, that you knew that was your last couple of months with him, you know. So how was it playing in that period?
He told us he was going to leave like when the rumors started happening, you know? And
but this is like 2 months before the year ended or something, right? Like that was a long time ahead.
I think so, yeah. So we knew about it, and then he talked to us, but we were really professional about it. And like we were friends, you know, like we are all friends, 2 cousins, so yeah.
But like sorry, keep going.
Yeah. We didn't really take it like as a team breaker. We were more like united and be like, hey, we're here for everyone, so let's keep playing like we are playing our best.
So was that like a regular conversation, or was that like you guys had it once you know NiKo came and said, hey, this is happening, kind of confirmed everything, and then from there you just got this business as usual? Or was it like having to reaffirm it every couple of events or whatever so people stayed on track, or was just everyone being as professional as they could be?
No, we just had it one time in the morning before prac. He said it, and then just that time, and then we were making jokes, you know, like he was gonna be rich.
No, but that right there, I guess, is like the angle where when we talk about it from a pundit perspective, we're like, oh, you know, like maybe they're in a tournament and things aren't going right and they know it's going to be over, so they let their foot off the gas, or they don't try as hard, or, you know, there's no reason for them to put in all the effort because this won't be the roster in a couple months time. But you're saying it wasn't like that at all. It was
no, it was not like that. And even him, like he never stopped like grinding preparation or whatever. He was the same NiKo as I met him on the first day of bootcamp when the season started.
Do you think that kind of helped the team at the end? I mean, as I said, like it almost seemed as if that was like a positive force because that's when you started having all the best results. I mean, towards the end of the year, a couple of wins and all that. How was that?
I don't know. Like, it's weird to say because like I didn't have many, like a lot of time with him. So like we were improving as a team as the time was passing, But I don't know. I didn't feel like really a difference with him leaving or not. Like we didn't really pay attention to that. Like he told us he was gonna leave, but like I think we forgot about it after before the major.
Okay.
So the major, I think, is probably one that to take a bit of an angle on, though, because when you guys were eventually eliminated, it looked like it was very emotional. Do you feel that the pressure started to mount then because like it was final at that point? Like that was the last event of the season. Every match you play, potentially last match. Like obviously the relationship with his cousin Hunter and of course Monacy, a little bit more than you and Snacks because you guys were newer. But could you sense it around the locker room with other players and stuff?
I think it kind of did. I think we had some pressure about it. Maybe not. Like I'm gonna be honest, I had it. Like I had this pressure of like I want to give NiKo this major trophy. I had it in my mind, and ever since like we started the bootcamp, I told him, "Hey, I want to help it win the major." And I obviously had it. And then that's why I like HLTV posted a video of me crying, because I really wanted him to win a major with me. That was like my dream since I got told that I wanted to that G2 wanted me to play with for them. So yeah, and also Monacy, I bet he had it for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Was it kind of a tough major for you? I mean, not like you were struggling, but of course, like there was a gap between what you could do before that. Maybe it wasn't quite reached at the major. Was that something you were thinking about?
No, I had good expectations about this major. Like I had this feeling that we could win it, and I'm pretty sure that I'm not gonna say pretty sure because it's gonna sound bad, But like if maybe the semifinal was played on the next day, it could have been a better result for us.
Why do you say that?
Because I feel like we all had a bad day. Like
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it felt like one of those days that everyone is off,
I mean, yeah, it was
That's how it
kind of
looked. That's how it looked from our point of view too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't like the individuals, even like in the quarterfinals, the game against Heroic, right? It was some back and forth, but the individuals showed up when they needed to. You had I think a big map there, NiKo and everything, but the semi was just like nothing was clicking. So yeah, it's one of those people. If you said like if what you're kind of saying is like if you played that game 10 times, you'd win it like 7, 8, and I think that's probably true. But this is one of those on the other side where just things didn't feel like a really a proper showing from your side for sure.
Yeah.
That's the harsh reality of competition, right?
Yeah.
Let's go more a positive note, malbs. Do you have a favorite series that you've played so far with G2? Or
I mean, one that is up there is definitely against Heroic in the quarterfinals. Like that 1v3 was super special to me. And then, of course, both finals that we won last.
World finals and fall finals, yep.
Yeah, super special actually. So it's actually a nice feeling. And then someone that a final that I'm never gonna forget is the EWC one. I felt like we could have won it. And then
that was your first event, right?
That was my first event.
Kind of setting expectations pretty high, don't you think? Hey, we could have won the first event. But to be fair, winning 2 trophies like you did in your first season at that level with G2 is already kind of crazy. Was it when you came in, the expectation setting was like, yeah, boys, we can win shit? Or was it like more tempered when you first came into the team talk? Because new in-game leader, you're getting the call up. Like, what was the type of planning for the season?
Like, of course, G2 has high expectations. Of course, they want us to win as many events we can. But as of me individually, because I'd never set my expectations really high because I never knew how it was going to be tier 1 for me. I was like, okay, maybe we win one event in this season. It's going to be good. you know. And then for next season, because at that point I didn't know NiKo was gonna leave, so I was like, okay, maybe next year we're gonna win more trophies and maybe the major as well. So.
Okay. All right. Well, let's jump around. Let's look at this year, right? Because obviously we saw you guys play in Bounty, and then you played in Katowice. But not only that, a lot of things changed. So NiKo did end up leaving. You guys brought Heavy God into the team, and you've been able to take over some more of NiKo's positions, which is kind of letting you return to more of these playmaking roles within the team. How are you finding that adjustment to go from, okay, I have to take some more anchor positions, now I get to go back into playmaker positions, or maybe more favorable positions for you? Has it been like challenging to make that adjustment, or are you just like riding a bike, you're back in straight away?
It's definitely challenging because like it's hard to be in this back and forth thing of like anchor, star player, anchor, star player. So it's like you go from passive to aggressive, then back to passive again, and then aggressive, and then you go passive in tier 1, and then you jump up to aggressive in tier 1. So it's like a lot of ups and downs, you know.
Sure.
But it's been a nice feeling overall. Like I feel like I'm learning a lot about the game, and I'm also trying to like put a lot of things that NiKo taught me basically into like game. I'm trying to kind of think about the game like NiKo did.
Okay,
I'm still in that learning thing.
And now, if you have like a disagreement with Heavy God about how he's playing, you just tell him like, yeah, NiKo told me you need to play like this. You know, this is how I needed to play, so you need to play like this as well. Just and shut up.
Yeah, I actually mentioned it one time.
There you go.
I said something that NiKo told me one time.
And did you win the argument? Was that like, yeah, okay, I'm doing this now? Easy. Easy.
You're talking about kind of like taking over NiKo, right? Does it also come with kind of those responsibilities we were talking about earlier on the CT? Like, are you also trying to build that, or not, maybe not build that, but like direct the game around yourself a bit more?
I think that's why I was failing like in this last 2 events. Like I put on myself a lot of pressure that I didn't need to put on myself, because I'm like a rookie still, and then I don't have this much experience like NiKo has. So I was putting a lot of pressure on me, even though I didn't need to do that. And then I was all focusing on my game, and I was trying to think about it, even though like I don't have this experience, and then I don't know what's happening, and then I'm calling something, and then like, you know, this kind of stuff. So I don't have this thing now, and Hunter is now taking more responsibility over CT. And then if I want to do some play and I have a read or something, he lets me do it. And if he does not agree, like, hey, it's eco, and I didn't see the round that it's eco now, and he's gonna cancel me, you know.
That is one of the things that we were talking about with what we saw from G2, is the sense that you guys before had someone so experienced like the GOAT rifler in key areas being able to help Snax and control a lot of things and have a lot of experience in these scenarios. And then like m0NESY yourself kind of having to step up to that plate more, and that isn't just going to happen overnight. So how do you guys strike the balance in the team? Is it just like what you said there? Like when you do feel it, you voice the opinion, and then otherwise you let Snax and Hunter take care of the main decisions?
Yeah, like I only take like if I want to do a play or something to like get some entries and everything, they let me do it. But like overall, like the whole plan of the round is obviously taking like Nano for T and for CT.
You said Hunter for CT, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the quote that came out from Taz as well, that he's like more active on CT. But not a question, but I just feel like what you just described here is like a smaller version of like the IGL, the Star Rifler becoming IGL syndrome. Like essentially what happened to Yakindar is like what you had here on few events times 3, I would say, because he was like main IGLing and went on to do that for like 6 months or a year even, and then coming back from that like is a whole issue that a lot of players have never really recovered, right? So
because I don't think you never stop thinking as an IGL after you take like over the IGL role.
Yeah. So you did it. You stopped early enough, you think?
I did.
You got out.
It only took 1 month.
How did that realization come? I mean, was it coming from the team that they were kind of noticing that maybe it's not quite right the right time for you, or was it from you internally that you wanted to, or you recognize that within yourself, you know, that maybe you're not ready for so much responsibility?
kind of everyone did, and I was becoming a lot of like really stressed. You know, like I'm this type of guy that is super funny and like it's making jokes all over and over and making everyone laugh basically. And then some days I was just having the worst mood ever, and I was being toxic and everything. So they were like, "Okay, this guy is not enjoying this thing."
That makes sense.
And then
That's fair,
like
yeah.
people realized that I was like actually just frustrating myself for nothing. And
Yeah. Okay. I was just looking at your positions, right? I'm going to read them out for everybody at home, and I want you to tell me which one you dislike the most, and then you can tell me which one you like the most. Okay. So let me do this so I can see you at the same time as I look at this, so in case I get one wrong. Ancient middle, CT side. We'll do CT side. Anubis B connector.
Good.
Dust 2, you get to be the A rotator.
I'm learning. So
Okay.
we'll give it a 6.
Okay. Inferno, you're over at B. Yeah.
That was a 9.
Okay.
I mean, that's the position you took over. It's like straight from NiKo. Like really, really,
Yeah.
really. You know, he's always been super aggressive down there.
Mirage, your connector.
That's a 10.
Okay. And nuclear outside.
That's it's been better now. I improved a lot in this bootcamp. I will give it a 7.
Is nuclear the most technical within all the positions you have?
Technically, it's just about some little tricks and like reactions and understanding how some smokes work. You know, like I don't. Now that I understand it, I can say that it's not as bad as people say.
Okay. All right. Okay. And then T side, let's have a look here. What do we got? We've got Ancient, you're mid, of course. I love that. That's it. Yeah, I feel like that's your favorite spot.
15.
What do you like about it so much?
I don't know. It's nice to just go out of the smoke in mid, get flashes, and kill people. You know, like it's just fun.
But now, like the meta's evolving. Now it's like the T's. You guys are dropping that close molly on the corner, so the CTs can't scale close anymore. But now the CTs are fucking run boosting over the molly.
Just directly flash in the smoke like 2k back then, and then
YOLO
criminal.
Yeah. Okay. On Anubis, you get to be the mid space taker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like that?
Yeah. I always did it in the melee as well. I think I would give it an 8.
Okay. Dust 2, you're doing mid control through lower B.
Right. That's a 7.
Seems slow, man. It's like you
Yeah,
got to worry about
boring.
the short boosts and I'll molly lower for you.
Lower, you know?
Okay, but you're getting nated in Banana or in Inferno.
That's fine. You just take some duels, you know? You take flashes behind you, you swing, and you're good.
Okay. Mirage, you get to go middle as well.
Fun. A 10.
And then nuke outside.
6.
Feels like you enjoy all your spots though.
I do. Nuke not that much though, because like you just go through smokes, you
Get
go
spammed.
secret, you get spammed. Oh, they broke the smoke.
I mean, that must be pretty frustrating, right? Because it's all about timing, and like sometimes you'll just get it wrong a lot of the time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was the semifinal at the majors to NiKo. Like he just died through the smoke like 4 times, doing like 4 different timings approaches. He would just like get spammed.
Okay,
Like
he was saying, "Oh, they broke the smoke, guys."
What else could you say, really? Okay, so let's talk about your coach, who gets a lot of talking time. Old Tazzy boy. Can you tell us a little about Taz and the coaching style that he brings? Because every time Blast or ESL put out a little comm piece, he gets flamed for it. So, what does a man who works with him every day think of the legend of Taz?
I think he's a nice coach. Like people think he's our cheerleader instead of our coach, but he's a nice coach, and he tries to put our mood up. You know, like we have some emotional players in our team, and then he's trying to be nice. You know, like, and then we have a game plan. You know, so like he cannot really like overcall people. But when he has an idea, he does it. But like, of course, Blast is not gonna put those voice comes in the stream, because like, of course. People, I think,
those are things that don't really go on the voice.
Yeah,
Don't do the
I think
strategies.
I think people are being too harsh on him.
So I guess let's see, because obviously there's only so many things you can say, right? But the problem is, in this scenario, people are just going to assume you're going to say something nice because it's your coach. right? That's the bias that people are going to come on in here with. So I'm trying to think of angles that we can talk about this where you can actually give us some more details. So, Prof Strike, if you can help me out here while I flounder.
Well, I'm thinking essentially like what do we expect from a good coach, and it really depends on the team. Like I think you kind of already explained. I think everyone knows this, that G2 has always been a team that has trouble with like not the mood, like it's toxic. It's more like the pressure and dealing with it and making sure that the mindset is in the right space. So would you say like essentially that is his main thing to like take care of essentially in the team?
A little bit, yeah, but he also has some like impact, like, hey, game plan is not working, let's change on to this, and then starts working, you know, or hey, we're playing too slow, let's change the pace, or hey, we're playing too fast, let's go slower, you know, stuff like this. He has some impact in this.
Which is what I think people would expect or hope from a coach, right? So I think an angle. Oh fuck! I just had it. This is what happens. It was right there. It was right there, and now it's gone. Oh, now that you guys have a new team, and you've had the first couple of events go by, do you think, or is the team becoming like needing to come up with a more of a structure because NiKo's not there? Is there need to be for more like strategy and stuff overall, and than there was before?
Yes and no, but the thing is also like when you have such a big boys like NiKo, like he was obviously good, but then there was some overcalling, and then he had some idea how to play the game, and then maybe Taz had another idea, or Snacks had another idea, or maybe I did have some another idea, and then this happens, and then yeah. So that's what happens. Is there's another big voice in the team, you know. But of course, it was really helpful to have NiKo. Yeah.
So, but you'd say now that like Snacks has more like of the final authority. Well, not the, but he's the main voice now. Like obviously he would have been one of the main voices before, but when you have a player like NiKo and you have a player like m0NESY, I imagine you want to try and facilitate to get the most out of them. But now it's a different complexion of the team. It's going to take a while for you and m0NESY and Heavy God to learn in the more pressure environments, which would be acknowledged. So essentially I'm saying you have to kind of make up for that. And I imagine you make up for that by having a little bit more structure.
Exactly. Yeah. We have some more structure. We have some more set plays and everything. Set reactions as well, for example.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And going into EPL, what is the expectations for the team?
For example, now with this bootcamp, I think it was really productive. I'm really happy with what we did and like how we fixed our stuff. I think it was better and we needed it. I think. I think we're ready to show a better G2 than we did this last 2 events.
Are we talking like you guys just want to make playoffs, or you want top 4, or is it to win the whole thing? Like, what's because you said it's G2, the results are kind of expected. Yeah,
no, you have VRS, yeah, so you have to be like you have to win. So we, of course, we have to win. You know, like wanting this or not, we have to win. So expectation is obviously to win as much as we can.
Okay, all right. Well,
do we want to do the quick little tier list?
We can do
for the riflers. I feel like this could be a good way to cap off the episode and get some insight on different players in the scene.
Okay, I did want to ask him this one question before we start the tier list.
Let's do it.
Do you ever go home, malbs?
Player break, yeah.
Okay, so just over Christmas time and in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
Okay, otherwise you're in Europe full time. And okay. Oh, that's and are you playing a lot of Face It?
Yeah, I do, because I don't really do much at home because I'm not really interested in going out over there.
No, fair enough. I was gonna say like if you're in Serbia and it's winter time, there's probably not much more you can be doing.
Also true. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's one. How are you finding the weather change? Doesn't it fucking suck?
A little bit, because like for example in Guatemala it's always like, but the thing is in Guatemala we're super hot or it's okay, but mostly it's super hot, and then Serbia is like super cold or okay.
Yeah,
so it's like have a good one, you know.
Either way, 90% of the time you're on PC playing CS. So
that's also true.
Yeah. Chad is just trying to find someone to like to connect with on this, like on deeper living in a hot, nice location, but being a far away from home issue that he has.
Are you in Australia right now?
Sorry?
Are you living in Australia right now or no?
No, I live in Malta. I've been living in Europe
in
since
Malta?
like 2017, 2018. So yeah, I know the vibes of not getting the sunny world. It's kind of tough.
2 seconds to charge me.
Yeah,
There you
I
go.
had to do that earlier today as well. Okay, so Prof,
I'm sure you're having such a horrible time down in Malta where it's sunny most of the
Right.
time anyway.
It's not even the similar stratosphere as Australia. I feel like it's like Australia is like S tier warmness, and Malta is like B plus.
So
in my opinion.
over 4 months with all the events I have in a row, I'll spend about 10 days at home in Malta. So yeah, it'll be great. I'll really enjoy
That's
Malta.
also true.
All right, let's get into this. So, Prof has designed a tier list. Prof, how would you frame this tier list?
I mean, we frame this tier list as aggressive riflers, and there's like different types of aggressive riflers, and we made, I think, 4 levels. There we go. It just got fixed. S tier, A tier, B tier, and the rest, because I'm not gonna put like F tier, fucking D tier, because that's BM. You're not gonna put anyone there. So everyone that's not like top, we can put in the rest.
Yeah.
And there's like 10, 13, 14 people. So essentially you can just go through them and you can like tell us a bit like what you think about them. Obviously you're an aggressive rifler yourself. You play against them, you watch their demos. Tell us a bit like what you think of their gameplay, of their style and stuff like this.
All right, I have an easy one.
Okay.
Dunk, the rest.
Okay. Put him on the bottom.
Wait.
I'm joking. It's S. Rank as Zonk.
I thought you were going to put Donk in S and everybody else in the rest. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this conversation was fucking quick. Jesus.
I mean, he has NiKo on the list as well. He's not gonna put NiKo in.
You
on
never
the bottom.
know. He did leave him. So maybe there's a bit of vitriol lingering, Prof. You don't know. Okay, Donk in
Of
S.
course, I don't think I even need to explain it. Number 1. Then next to him I will say Nicola. Rank on S. He's like insanely mechanically, obviously, and then
Who's got a better deagle, you or him?
it's a tough one. I don't know. Same level, I would say.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Because I don't know. I have a good deagle, but he also does, but like the same. You can fix it in a 1v1 with deagle.
I mean, he has obviously the history. He has more years of the deagle. But if we're talking about just like today, you know, today I feel like that's fair. I would give it to him still, you know, just out of respect. But you know, I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah, we can fix it at 1v1.
That's an idea for the next show match.
Yeah, there you go.
That's some EPL content for you, chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. All right. Who else we got? Anyone else in S?
I'm thinking, but I don't know. Like,
I don't even see these faces. I don't know how you see them.
I'm thinking about Santaris, but Santaris A.
Okay.
I feel like he let me down a bit in a few of these series recently, like the new game as well. Who they lose to? My mind's blanking now. In Cluj, and also to in Mongol.
Look.
Hello,
Kid.
hello, Ilya. So I understand this. I understand this. Turkish
But-
fans won't understand though. So
I'm probably gonna get hate messages on my Twitter, but
It's all right, man. I called him soft before for complaining about being homesick 3 events into the year. You don't want to see what my message is going to look like after this podcast ends.
so I think he's super mechanically skilled as well. Like I see some clips of him and everything. He's insane actually. And of course, hard actually.
who else we have on the list? We have Exertion, Flames.
I see a leash as well.
Elish is there. Yeah.
Like a leash is also A. I would say at least an Exertion on the same level.
Okay.
Then I don't want to be humble, but I want to put me up there as well.
Okay.
Did we make malbs? Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
it's right there.
He's there. He's there.
I see me.
So we've got Flammus, Senzu, Flamesy, Rain, Emma, Yakinda, and Nerds.
One of these things just doesn't belong here.
Come on now.
Everybody's thinking it. I'm just saying what
I would
everybody's
put
thinking.
nerds there as well.
Nerds there as well. Okay.
Do you feel like he's like different than the rest? I feel like he is also aggressive, but like not necessarily the same way like an exertion or even you are.
I don't know. I feel like he's always swinging everything. I feel like him and exertion are kind of a similar. But us three there, I think we have a similar game style.
Okay.
Then wait, Rain, Sensu, Flammus, taking there. Why not Twist in here? Oh, he's ideal, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I would say Sensu B, Flimsy B. It's gonna be so bad. Okay, Rain B as well.
Props
And
just
no matter what you put at the bottom, that's going to be the one that's used the least prop. You know that.
Yeah. Give a B as well.
You know what you have to do, man. You know what you have to do.
Do it already. Do it. You can do it. You can do it. And the Flammus. I don't know. He just moved to tier 1. You know. I cannot really because he's good. He beat me. You know.
As we like to say in Croatia, he has to eat more porridge.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
He needs to like he needs to grow up, you know. He needs to raise a bit.
He needs to get hair on his chest.
He needs to bulk up a
Yeah,
bit,
because last year people would put me in the rest as well. For sure.
Yeah, for sure. They wouldn't even put you. They'd be, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah. Mala, what the fuck is Guatemala?
What's your national dish? If I was to get Guatemalan food, what would I be eating?
I don't even know. There's a lot of stuff actually. Yeah, because like it's like Mayan food, you know, like there's some yan, it's called. It's like a soup, I would say, but I don't know what it's made of because I don't like it.
Okay.
There's caquique, it's also called. Then you have tamales. Guatemalan tamales, they're good.
Okay.
Paches, they're also good.
Is it a stupid question to say? Is spicy food?
No.
Well, see, this shows my ignorance. See, I'm learning. So it's not spicy. I don't like spicy. I'm still.
You can make it spicy, but
okay.
You don't need to.
Nice. Okay.
I think those are like the.
That's a good start, mate. If you ask me about Australian food, you get a fucking beef pie and a sausage sizzle or some shit.
And spiders.
Yeah, exactly.
Kangaroo meat, classic.
Exactly. Okay. What? Let's project. Eddie, no, we don't want to project. That's what the people on Twitter do. Let's just. I guess we can wrap it up. Malbs, is there anything else that you want the people at home to know? Anything else you want to share?
Like what?
I don't know. Like,
you
want to say hi to
personal secrets? I don't know.
What are your petty grievances and anything that annoys you in the world right now? You're free to put it out there.
I don't know. Actually, I'm not sure.
Pretty chill guy.
I'm a real chill guy.
Okay, fair enough.
Are you related to Luigi by any chance? That was a question for chat.
Shit
we
question.
We leave it with that.
Shit question.
I was expecting a better one, like a doctor or something. You know.
The fun fact about your name is a pretty good fun fact, like your alias.
Yeah, my full name.
Yeah, people should know that though, right? Like that's a well-known malbs fun fact.
Yeah, people think I'm a medical doctor, but I'm an accountant. You know.
How did you like the nickname that Harry was trying to give you last Pro League season, calling you the lobotomist?
I'll be honest. I like Harry and everything, but that was terrible.
I had my own actually that didn't catch in the use chat. I had Guatemalan guillotine.
What the fuck? How can you cast that?
Yeah.
I think it's like if you're skilled enough, you could do it. You're just showing your lack of range there, Chad.
I don't do the play-by-play, but in case people don't know the fun fact, malbs' nickname is composed of one letter of each section of his complete name. Mario Alberto, how would I say this? Samayoa Diaz. The M for Mario, the Alb for Alberto, the SM for Samayoa, and the D for Diaz. What a fun fact.
That is fun. That is
I came up with
quite
it when
fun.
I was. Another fun fact is like I made this nickname when I was like 10 because I just before I was using another nickname that I just googled that it was free kill and I was like I shouldn't use this, Then I came up with this and yeah.
Nice.
Banger.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you for joining us, malbs. Appreciate your time.
Thanks for inviting me.
Is there anything you want to say to the people at home, the fans?
I just want to say that obviously thanks for the support. It's super special for us and helps us to like gain this grinding mentality and super special for us. Thank you.
All right, and we'll see you playing in EPL in a week and a bit's time. All right, malbs, I'm going to get you out of here because I made a PowerPoint presentation, and I want to finish the PowerPoint presentation before we finish tonight's episode. And you don't want to see the PowerPoint; it'll be boring to you. So I don't want to bore you. I want to bore the people at home. So I'll let you go right now. Thank you very much. We'll see, like I said, we'll see you shortly. And have a good evening.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Peace. Okay.
Bro, what the fuck?
I want to do my PowerPoint.
What the fuck is this? This is like extended fucking class. It's like class dismissed. Oh, actually not. Everyone needs to stay except that guy who has
the best student. He can go home early. The rest of you have to stay.
Soccer practice. You can go to soccer practice. Fuck this shit.
Okay, I want to do this because I'm reading comments in the community at the moment, and I feel that people don't have a grasp of what's happening, even though the three of us have been talking about this for like a 6-month lead in time into this year and the changes and everything that we expected to happen. And those things happened, and people don't seem to have a grasp of the scenario.
Reddit / I am smart.
So I want to talk about this. I think it's important to talk about this. So I'm going to change this little thing right here.
This is going to be the real explain it to me like I'm SPUNJ.
Okay, system.
Or this is going to be more like explain it to me like SPUNJ.
Yeah, there you go. That should be the name of this one. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go onto this thing here.
By the way, just to be clear, I'm super down for this. I'm just making fun of you.
No, that's fine.
I'm also understand that you put in like at least half an hour.
At least half an hour.
And you're not going to let us go before we see this. So look at
this. Let's recap what we've been saying for 6 months.
Okay, I've shared it, Dimitri. So if you could bring that up for everybody playing at home, that'd be wonderful. Okay.
That's a grok.
Yes.
Watermark.
AI is helpful. AI is very helpful. As much as people think it's cringe, it's very helpful. Okay. So as we can see on this title, I have got Grok to create a logo of a Counter-Strike ecosystem that doesn't make any sense. And I have included the logos of the 3 main players in the scene at the moment, which are Blast, PGL, and ESL. Now, coming into the changes of going into an open circuit with things that we were discussing to no end, right? Coming into this year, we were saying things were going to change. We were saying the ranking's king. We were also saying that we thought the teams were going to skip PGL events. And guess what?
Not that we thought that, we knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, well, look, the people don't listen to us as it's happening. They only seem to realize once it's happened, and then they bitch and moan about it. But look, it's happened. We knew it was going to happen, and it's happened. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the ecosystem and the impacts on the VRS. Okay, so let me click. So there's another slide that I have created, everybody. So the tick, if you see that on any of these slides, what you're seeing on that slide will be saying that it does contribute to the VRS. On the cross, if you see the cross, it means it does not contribute to the VRS. Is that simple enough for everybody to understand?
It's about money, I assume.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. What we're going to be taking a look at right now is the incentive structures or prize money structures that all 3 of these major players have. Okay? Because seeing these conversations that I've seen on Reddit and Twitter in the last couple of days is quite alarming to me because all of the information is publicly available. Okay? And that's based on one thing that I forgot to put into the slide. So I'm going to have to find that right now. Give me a second while I head over.
I'll fill for a second.
Yes, you fill.
Everyone just noticed that on the left image, as AI is simply cannot spell. It cannot spell. Contribute has like 2 eyes because why not? I'm just fascinated by that as a concept. It's just amazing. But otherwise, great job so far. Really enjoying this.
This is great to get feedback.
Old man yells at clouds.
I'm not yelling at clouds. All right.
MP4.
Hold on. I'm going to stop sharing it for a second while I where's the stop sharing button?
There you go. It's fine.
It's fine. It's all
okay. Good. All right. Good. Let me just add one more extra slide.
So essentially, the point of this is to educate people.
Yes.
This is the reason.
This is the reason we're doing this.
Yes.
Okay, let me get this one little section here. We're going to get snip tool. We're going to take this and take this. We're going to grab this.
What percentage of the community would you say is not informed right now?
Most of them, from what
would you say, like 80%?
It seems like probably 80 is a safe bet. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
People are listening to Confirmed.
We're back
Pretty
in.
clear.
Okay.
So now we can share this again. Okay. Everybody with me?
Yes.
So you guys go, yeah. Okay, guys. So this is from the GitHub, which is the tournament operation requirements put out for Valve if you want to run tournaments. Okay. And you can go and find this clause. I'm going to post in Twitch chat right this second the link so you guys can all read it yourself. Now, this is 5.2, and this is non-discriminatory treatment of teams. Now, if you're not aware of why we moved into the current system, it was to take away the duopoly that had been formed by ESL and Blast, right? Because they had the partner agreements with the organizations. Now, we were referring to a couple of things in tonight's lesson. TOs stands for tournament organizers. If I refer to orgs or organizations, I am talking about Counter-Strike teams, a Liquid, a Vitality, etc., the large organizations. Okay, so this 5.2 says, any agreement between tournament operator and teams or athletes needs to be non-discriminatory and identical for all teams or athletes. In particular, if tournament operator is going to share revenue or otherwise provide financial support, then such support must be equivalent for all rosters or otherwise determined by an objective KPI that is applied equally to all rosters, including rosters that have been directly invited, qualified, or entered through a wildcard invite determined before rosters are selected. Such support must be accessible by all participating rosters, determined by the roster's performance in the tournament. Another objective merit-based KPI relating to the tournament, e.g. viewership numbers of matches involving the respective team, roster, or athlete, or the roster's VRS ranking on the invitation date. Now, someone says like in TeamSpeak that I need to check. It's not important. It's Dimitri saying, be right back. Okay, great. So what does this say? In essence, it is saying that previously in partner structures, there were teams who were invited to tournaments regardless of their ranking in the world rankings, either by HLTVs or ESLs or whatever. They were invited. Think about an NIP, for example. They were dog shit. Or EG, they're the perfect example. They were really dog shit. But they were invited and they got a split of the revenue, like all the other teams, to attend the Blast events and the ESL events. And they were able to attend those events regardless of what tripe they were putting up on the server. What this is saying right here is if there is going to be any incentives, any revenue share, any appearance fee money, any of that is going to be given, it needs to be given on a merit-based system, and it needs to be available to everybody who is participating in said event. So you can see their KPIs or merit. So merit-based would be your placement. A KPI could be viewership, for example, like it says in this example. If you're an org, which if you're a NAVI or a Vitality or a FaZe, you're going to bring a larger portion of viewers than you would if you're a Gamer Legion or if you're a smaller org. So what this is saying is within Valve's new system, this has to be equal. And not only that, this has to be public. This cannot be behind closed doors. Anything that you are doing to incentivize teams to come to your tournaments must be public. Everybody, you, me, Prof, Striker, Tom, Dick, Harry, your fucking next door neighbor, everybody needs to know what's going on. Everybody following.
It's pretty clear so far.
Any additions from Professor or Professor Striker?
I think we're not professors. You're the professor in this case for sure. We're just students right now, but like the ambitious students. That
But I'm
actually
waiting
like
for Striker to come in and say, "Excuse me, that's incorrect."
I did have a problem with one thing that you said at the beginning, but which was that you said that this was done in order to remove the duopoly, which is not exactly the point of these rules at all.
All right. Well, tell us, Professor Striker.
I'm just saying, like, the point of these rules is just about, how the partnerships between tournaments or tournament organizers and teams are being handled, right? It doesn't technically say that you can't have just 2 tournament organizers running everything.
So they could. So it's just to stop what was going on from those 2 tournament organizers. Right. Okay. Slight clarification. It doesn't sound as cool as what I said, though, does it? All right. Next. Okay. Let's get into player number 1, PGL. Now, as we can see here, green tick does contribute to the VRS. Over this year, PGL will have 4 main events. We just finished Cluj. They'll have Bucharest, a studio event. They'll have Astana, an arena event. They'll have Belgrade, an arena event. Over those 4 events, they will be giving away $5 million of pure prize money, right? There's no other incentives. There's nothing. It's literally just the pure prize money that you will get. And as you can see, the prize pool breakdown on your screen right now. For first place, you'll get 40,000, which is 400,000, which is 32% of the overall prize pool, which is 1.25 million per event. I did maths wrong?
No, just filling in, like,
yes,
you're calling it prize pool. Now people call it player prize pool. That's kind of a new term that's being used. I would only say
that only ESL calls it player prize pool.
Yeah,
semantics.
Just to clarify the semantics, because but this is essentially prize pool as it always was defined prize pool. Some people now call it player prize pool. So this is, I don't want to go too much away from your presentation, but just want to mention that.
Okay, so this is just showing to everybody the way that PGL are incentivizing teams to come to their tournament is having large prize pools per tournament. And they are just saying, if you come and you win, you get the majority of the money. That's it. You're completely merit-based. We'll invite you, or there'll be qualifiers based off of the VRS, and you can come if you want, and there's no other incentive models for you to come, right? Everybody understand that? Great. Here is the breakdown that we just saw go down at Cluj. MOUZ won. They had 400,000. Falcons came second, 1875. Astralis came in third with a fourth place decider, 150. FaZe came in fourth. Look at the difference between second and third. Like, that's crazy close, right? We're talking 37,500. So it is actually really important, this third, fourth game, which is also what adds the stakes to that. And all the way down to last place, where you see teams getting $12,500 dollars. Okay. That is it for PGL. There's nothing. What you see is what you get, just like CS2, everybody. Everybody understanding that? Great. Strike, anything you want to add?
No.
Great. Jumping forward. Let's talk about Blast. Blast is the next one. Blast has 3 mechanisms, I suppose, to get you to attend their events. First and foremost, they have the participation fee, which over the course of a year is $4 million. These fees, as you can see on the screen right now, are split depending on the event. Blast Bounty, if when you were invited to the tournament, based off of the VRS, your VRS ranking is 1st to 8th, you will receive $40,000. This is not prize money. This does not, as you can see with the red X at the top of your screen, have anything to do with the VRS. It does not contribute prize money-wise to the VRS. It is just an appearance fee, essentially. And that appearance fee is merit-based, like we discussed earlier, which is based upon where you were in the rankings as you were invited to this event. So then you go down the list, 9th to 16th, 26,250, 17th to 32nd, 7,500. Every team that goes to a Blast event will receive an appearance fee that, again, does not contribute to their VRS ranking. And likely this money, I don't know how it will be handled by all of the organizations / teams, but I would assume that money would likely go to the organization. But at the same time, I don't know what...
In main part, at least. I mean, I don't know everybody's deals, but let's say some of the players get some part of it, and all that stuff, but it's generally heavily skewed towards organizations, yes.
So at the bottom, yes, bro.
I just wanted to add that, just like, it's interesting to know that, like, Imperial Valkyries, by getting invited to Blast, got 7.5K, right? And then for also getting invited to Cluj, got 12.5K. That, even though the Cluj part is player prize pool and this is participation fee. So how it's being distributed to players, or we don't really know, but that is like 20K just for saying yes to a tournament, which is interesting. I don't know how it was for Katowice. I think it was something very low, like 2.5K. So like 22,500 for showing up, which is just an interesting fact to point out.
The other key point of this little snippet is teams must fulfill their tournament marketing and commercial obligations to earn these participation fees. If a team declines an invite, the participation fee is transferred to the frequent flyers pot. We'll get to that in a second. But this is important for people to understand when you go to these tournaments, right? So essentially what Blast is saying is if you want this money, you have to do our media days, right? So you need to comply with what they have in line. So
there's a question in the chat, and I don't know if you want to answer it now, but Keitna Wilson 13 asks, why wouldn't Blast just categorize this as club money like ESL so it counts for the VRS?
They would have to restructure it because right now this is based on the point of invitation, not based on the point of tournament end.
Like placement, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So your placement determines club money split, whereas this is what they're saying is you just have to be ranked in these positions.
But the question is maybe like, why don't they do that? Why didn't they do that?
I will say that this is probably a more effective way at convincing the best teams in the world to come to your event because they get a guarantee of 40,000 per team. While if you put it in placement, they have to place top 8. They have to perform to earn that. While in this case, they just get it as a guarantee in the first place. Of course, most of those teams would probably occupy those places, but it's not the same as just getting it in the first place before a tournament even begins.
So this is important because, guys, you have to remember overall, I said there's 3 key mechanisms. This is just one of them. So this is an incentive to entice teams to go to their tournaments. For example, the Blast Rivals, which you see here, 1st to 8th, it's only 8 teams at Blast Rivals, and 4 of those teams are the top 4 by the VRS, and the other 4 are wildcard teams per region. So they are in a position where they can pick and choose the best teams that they want to be attending from said region to have the strongest name brand tournament. Within reason, of course. But each of those teams from 1st to 8th will get $81,250. That's just for showing up. As Striker just said, it doesn't matter if you come first or last. Your org will be taking home $81,250. Or
you know what's interesting about this?
That's fucking insane, though.
That's insane, first of all. But you know what's interesting about this, which is so there's the whole line about that it has to be applied to same teams equally, and you shouldn't be able to pick and choose exact teams who you give this money to.
But can
technically with the wildcard invites, they can absolutely pick specific teams that they give this money to at their own leisure, and I'm not necessarily sure that that's something that was thought about when these rules were being put into place. It's because it's curious. I mean, let's say we were talking a lot about Liquid, right, and how their decision to skip Cluj might have a disastrous result down the line. Technically, under the wildcard invite, they could be the wildcard invite to rivals, regardless of if they fall to number 30 in the world by the time that the invite goes out. Blast could invite them specifically regardless of their performance now, because it's a wildcard invite, and the wildcard requirement is that you have to be a member of a top 8 roster for the past 6 months now. That's after the new rule changes, right? So that Liquid have been that in NA. They will be that in NA even by the end of this period. So you can technically pick and choose whoever you want to give this money.
Mm-hmm. Feels very wrong and feels insane. That
feels against the grain of the idea of the rules, to be honest.
Yeah, but also just again, 81,000 times 80,000 times 8, $640,000 dollarinos.
Yep.
Just
that's not including the prize money, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So guys, remember, this does not go to VRS. All right, next. This is the participation fees of what it will be for Lisbon. Okay, so just so you guys can see the way that this would go, the teams on the left-hand side of the screen, 1st to 12th, all receive 45,000 just for accepting the invitation. That's Spirit, Vitality, Navi, Eternal Fire, G2, FaZe, the Mongols, MOUZ, Falcons, Virtus Pro, Liquid, and Furia. all of those 12 teams received 45,000. The teams who qualified, M80, Imperial, Atox, and Astralis, all earned 10,000. Okay? So there you go. And remember, does not contribute to the VRS. This is just the money to get them to go to the Blast event. All right, next. Now we're going to talk about the second prong of the incentives that Blast have put out there to entice teams to prioritize their events over other tournaments. Blast named theirs the Frequent Flyers program, and it is a minimum of $2 million a year. So the way that this is worked is you can see on the screen right now, I'll read it out, but essentially teams earn tokens for participating in events. You receive if you attend 4 tournaments, you receive 1 token. If you play 5 tournaments, you receive 2 tokens. If you play 6 tournaments, you receive 4 tokens. Additional tokens are awarded for performances. If you're reaching the second week of Blast Bounty or Open, you get 1 extra token. Or winning a Bounty, an Open, or a Rivals gives you 2 tokens. So at the end of the year, all of the tokens added up per team, and then it is split depending on how many tokens are in play. The 2 million or more, depending if they get more money, will be split between those teams with tokens. Now, it is important to note that after playing a 4th Blast Premier tournament and qualifying for the Frequent Flyers program, a team earns a decline. That means they have to play 4 consecutive Blast tournaments before they're able to skip one. So if you play Bounty, Lisbon, Rivals, and then the Bounty again, you are then afforded the opportunity over a 24-month period to choose to skip a future Blast event. In subsequent years, oh shit, fuck. How do I go back?
Okay, can we go back quickly to the
yeah.
to
I'm back.
No, I
Which
mean
one?
to the participation fees one.
Yeah.
The what we were talking about just before we get there, get further, because I think what I said might have been wrong. So what it says about the 81,250, right? This actually came from Lucas, who kind of pointed it out that maybe I read it in a wrong way, and I think it makes sense, which is that provides a guaranteed income for teams based on their ranking at the point of invite. So 1st to 8th, it doesn't mean that all 8 teams at the Blast Rivals get this 81.25. It's only all 8 teams if they're all top 8 rosters on the ranking. So you only get this money if you are a top 8 roster in the ranking and get it and accept the invite. I don't know whether this would even apply to wildcard invites in the first place, because I don't know how that would work exactly.
Well, then why would they have it from 1st to 8th?
I don't know. Maybe they just want to make sure that's like, as long as you're at least top 8, you have to accept. You will accept. Like if could just be that their way to ensure at least 4 of the top 8 teams, let's say, or whatever. I don't know whether this was exactly the original idea, because we know that Rivals originally wasn't this. It wasn't 4 and 4.
Change,
it was.
Yes.
I don't know if it was actually top. I think originally it was supposed to be top 8 by VRS, but they realized they couldn't do that, or they changed it at some point. So I think this is an outdated version, and only the 4 teams that accept the invite get this money. So it's not going to be 81,000 per team. We would have to ask them, because I'm not 100% sure if they changed this in some way after they changed the Rivals format. But just to clarify what I said, I think might have been wrong. And it's not like you can just pick whatever, let's say Liquid, and give them this 81,000, because they're not going to be a top 8 ranks team.
That makes more sense, to be honest. And then anything that's left over would go to the pot, Frequent Flyers pot, essentially. Yeah. So
Which
most likely
that they have it set as a minimum of 2 million.
Yeah. And stuff will be added.
Still though, like they had Bounty. In Bounty they had some wildcard possibilities, right? So I wonder if that's I don't know if that's what they would do or what they wanted to do, and maybe they shouldn't have been.
But
able
Lucas
to do,
said
but
maybe. He didn't.
No, that's me. No, I'm just saying the way that it reads, it's about ranking at the time of invite, and so it will not apply if that team you invite is outside of that top 8. You will not get that money if you're if you're a team outside of the top 8 and accept an invite.
Interesting. So I guess we could
it's based on ranking. It's based on the ranking at the point of invite. What do you mean test it?
Well, so like for example, if we look at Blast Bounty, one of the teams who would have been invited would have been outside of the top 32 because of the way that all the invites rolled, right? So we could just ask that team if they received the money.
Somebody declined, right? Those Mongols or something. We can ask if
So we
Sure.
would just ask the one team who's
Yeah,
outside
whoever,
of that if
whoever
they
was
received
outside
this.
of that. I don't know what let's see who that might have been.
If someone in Twitch chat
It was
could
like
work that out right now.
Miga, right? Or somebody like that was somewhere outside of that, I think. It might have been maybe even further down. I'm not sure.
Okay, but we could get an answer to that based off of that. Right
Yeah, that's
there.
curious.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Let-
You're right.
let-
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So yeah, we were talking about the frequent flyer program. That's pretty self-explanatory. Does everybody understand that?
Yeah, essentially more
Yeah.
tokens, more share of the 2 million plus anything extra.
But
So
it's
the 2 million is then being split among everyone that has tokens, essentially.
exactly. But you don't know how many tokens are going to be in play, right? So
Yeah.
because if teams don't attend, if they're eligible for an invite and they don't attend the events 4 consecutive, then they're no longer eligible for the frequent flyer status. So we won't know until the end of the tournament year how many tokens are valid and how many tokens are even in play. But
right.
let's say that there's only 2. Like, would this work? Tell me if this is the case. Let's say there's only 2 tokens for whatever reason. Like, it seems like, but would that mean like Striker's team has 1 token and my team has the other token? We split $2 million?
Yeah, you get 1
Yeah.
and the other person gets 1.
Okay, so yeah, we'll have to wait and see how many tokens are in play. But we could, well, we can't really work it out yet. There hasn't been 4 tournaments yet. So we know that there's only
Well, let's say, I mean, we can say
there's
like
8 tokens because of reaching the 2nd week of bounty. So we know that there's
Yeah.
8 tokens in play
Yeah.
from there.
And
plus,
winning bounty is 2
we guess you
tokens.
2. So there's 10 tokens in
So
play at the moment.
Spirit has 3 tokens, and then other teams have 1 token.
yeah, 7
so-
other teams have 1.
So they would
Yeah.
get
Whatever, 100,000 per token, so or 200,000 per token, right? So 600 Spirit, right? In
Yeah.
this case, the rest of them 100,000.
But
Which
it's obviously gonna
honestly, this frequent
track.
flyer program doesn't really feel like that much, if I'm completely honest.
depends on
because,
how many
like,
tokens are in play.
2 million, but I think the 2 million doesn't feel like that much. Like, it's gonna be split among 10 teams probably. So it's 200,000. Let's say there's like 200, 300 more thousand from like the stuff that's left over, maybe 500,000. It doesn't feel like really super changing money. Maybe like for the big orgs that attend everything, it's going to
I
be
mean,
like
yeah, some of them, like
250,
let's say there's already
300,000 max.
let's say there's going to be like 5 teams that earn those 4 tokens, probably a few more that will earn at least 2, right? That's already like 20 tokens spread between 5 teams, right? And then like whoever wins, that's another 10 tokens, or what is 6 turn 12 tokens. If you win a tournament, right? So that's 30 already. Reaching the 2nd week of Bounty or Open, that's 4 times 8 and 6 or something, 14. That's a lot. Well, that's a lot of tokens. Let's just say that.
Well, Graham just said in chat that they've already forfeited their first frequent flyer. Well, no, they've already their eligibility. So I think that's based off them not
Because
being
of-
able to attend a
they
qualifier or
haven't
something.
qualified, right? Or something like that.
I
Wait,
don't
after
think-
playing with that allows them to decline what? But that doesn't. They didn't decline, right? Or unless he's claiming that they declined to the Rising or something. Did they
think it's
decline an
the
event to
case.
the Rising? Maybe
I'm pretty
that's
sure.
that's where what he's insinuating.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. But people understand qualify for Blast Rising was during PGL Cluj, so we declined. Yeah, there you go.
Ah, okay,
And that
so yeah,
rules them
fair
out.
enough.
There you go.
Yeah.
What if
Okay.
what if a team gets bought out? That old team that has no players still get the money based on the token. This is interesting. Does it work based on the org
That is
or
that
the
is
core?
interesting. Yeah.
Probably
I
the
don't
org,
really-
right?
Yeah, but then you can't. Yeah, I guess.
It'd have to be the org.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so whatever tokens that org
Yeah.
earned would stay with them, and then wherever they switched would have gone to
Yeah,
another.
I guess that kind of incentivize an org to have like a competitive roster that is consistently getting invited, regardless of, because this money also is not for the players, unless, I mean, let's just say one thing: whatever contracts people have is the contracts people have, but generally, this is stuff that is going to the org and not really to the players.
Someone said, why would someone decline a token? It's not about declining the token. It's about ruining your eligibility to be part of the frequent flyer program, which is where you get the tokens because you can't attend the 4 events or you decline
Yeah.
one.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
you
two
have to
ways. It's either you're not high enough in the ranking, or you don't want to go to the tournament. You want to go to another tournament. You want to break or something. And generally, it seems like no one's going to be skipping the blast ones if they are invited.
Qualify, yeah, or
Okay.
are invited.
Next.
I mean, you can see that like they have to play 4 tournaments to even qualify for this, right? So that's 4 out of 6. You have to be fairly highly ranked. the entire year, to be able to do that effectively, or qualify for all of them where you can. So it's not easy, especially with rivals. Those two are going to be very exclusive. So those are hard to get an invite for. So basically, you have to qualify for both bounties, both opens, which is like top 12 in the world, plus the 4 risings or whatever. Like it's not easy, but not impossible for sure. Yeah.
This is the third prong of the Blast. I guess it's not incentives, but like structure, right? So the third is their prize money. So for here you can see over the course of a year, 2.5 million yearly. Prize money is distributed based on performance at each tournament. The allocation ensures that the top performing teams are adequately rewarded for their efforts. And this here you can see does contribute to the VRS. So for the bounty, it's 500,000. The reason I didn't put the results from bounty is because it's going to be different every time because of the bounty system, but it's a prize pool of 500,000 split between those teams. For Blast Open, which is the next one, it is 400,000 with first prize being 150k, second being 60, and then all the way down to 13th to 16th being 5,000. And then the Blast Rivals, which is 350,000. So that's probably one of the reasons, Striker, that I was thinking that the 80k was a guarantee for first to eighth, because the prize pool is actually the smallest at what should be considered their most top-heavy event.
Surely they have to change that in some way, because that's not like they will not get top 8 ranked teams. So I think they just forgot to update that in some way after they updated the format.
It's harder to find the resources on Blast's website than some of the other websites. So I was just grabbing what I could find. So yeah, hopefully we can get some clarification on this. But okay, we talked about Pete. Yeah.
Yeah. I just at this point, you can kind of look at just the Blast, comparing Blast and PGL events prize pool wise. You can also see why the Cluj results had a big impact on the ranking, because like the prize pool wise, they are like
400k first prize,
2 to 3 times bigger than the Blast events, because that money that it's not like Blast is not spending money. Blast is also spending money, but they're putting it in organizational incentives to make them come to the events versus rewarding performance, which plays into the VRS.
And just to return to the start of the conversation, this is all public information for all of you to go and find. These TOs have to publicly put this out there, how they are attempting to incentivize their business models so that teams pick their events over other events. This is all public information.
I also just want to say one thing. I don't want to, what I said doesn't mean like someone is doing something good or bad. This is just like different approaches.
Yes.
And like when Chad finishes everything, we can discuss a bit more like what we think about them. But I just wanted to point out the differences.
Okay, so yeah, we see that. Okay, now let's go to ESL. So ESL have come up with what I'd love to call a nice little play on words, also known as some semantics. So ESL have now, for the general user, for most of you watching this right now, the only thing you care about is the total winnings column. As you can see, all of their events throughout this year and the total winnings. So that's the prize purse. But because contracts with teams and players is structured to a point where the players take the lion's share of prize money, right? It's probably for most of them 80% plus. That meant the orgs were no longer getting any of the guaranteed revenue that they previously were when they were part of the Blast deal or the ESL deal, which would be like rev share, et cetera, et cetera. That guaranteed money now no longer exists. Now, the way the ESL have structured this, as we discussed, has to be merit-based for it to count to the VRS. So they have created a thing called the club money or club reward. So right now, this is overall. We'll get into the breakdowns in a second of how this looks for first, second, third, etc. But you can see for their mainstay events, the ones that everybody wants to attend because of points of prestige, it's mainly prize money, which goes to players heavy for Katowice and Cologne. For the events which are in more exotic locations like Dallas, Chengdu, Melbourne, and then the league format of Pro League, which runs longer and is a studio event, they've gone heavier on the club reward. This is to incentivize the org to send their teams to these events, because the players are probably not as incentivized to go to an event like this. So let's take a look, flip over. Katowice. For them, first place, 400,000 prize money. Remember, mainly going to the players. And then a club reward, which is small, right? You guys can take a look, 180, 36, 80, 28, etc. down the line. Then we can take a look at the smaller events. So Melbourne, Dallas, and Chengdu. The prize money is smaller than the club reward for first prize. You get 125,000 prize money for first, but first for the club reward going to the organization is 160K. So, right, you can see how ESL have tried to structure this so that the organization is getting money, the players are still also getting money, and it's trying to get them to, be like, we know you're going to come to WATO and Cologne because everybody wants to be at WATO and Cologne, but this is how we're going to draw you to come to our other events by giving money to the people who pay your salary.
So that, and also just to point out, it's also the club reward is not really as top heavy as the prize money for the player prize money, right? Usually, if you go back to the Chengdu thing, like even finishing like 9 to 12, you get 20K, right? It's kind of incremental, so it does incentivize just showing up and doing something to get a decent amount of money, right, for the team.
Yes. So then they have it as well for EPL. So for EPL, first place 100K for the players, and 150K for the org, right? So you guys can take a quick look at the split here. You can see though, if you fall out of below 15th to 16th, so this is last place in the Swiss, and then below that
second
is
Swiss, yeah.
Yes, yeah, and then this is the stage 1 Swiss down here, the 17th to 19th and 20 to 22nd.
This is also another way to kind of put it in the pockets of the best teams, right? And which are generally going to be also the most popular teams.
Invited
so that's kind of like
a second stage,
right?
Yeah.
And just to clarify, also, club money does count for the VRS.
Yes,
because it is result based, right?
Yes, so
it is also like the part of the last update that came in with the model. They did introduce that club share thing into the model, after we put it on the sites as like 2 separate things.
Now, the thing is, someone in chat said, isn't 100K for first load? This is the thing. You need to look at it from the perspective of this first graphic, which is the overview. Look at them as total prize pools, right? If you look at it from total prize pools, Katowice and Cologne are the same prize pool as what the PGL events are. And the rest of them have all been brought up to 1 million. It's just the way that the money is being spread. And essentially, they're trying to make sure that money goes to the club or the org so that they can keep the ecosystem alive. That's essentially what ESL's like choice of the business model is, and also the way that ESL feel that they can get these organizations to prioritize their events over other events. That's what this is about, guys, right? Like it's all these things are put in for a reason.
I mean, the thing is, like, technically the public shouldn't really give a fuck, because it's also like, we also don't know whether, like, how much of the prize player one is going to actually players, how much of the club one is actually going to the orgs. The percentages differ by team, differ by player sometimes, even because, of course, like, if you're, I don't know, throughout NiKo, you're probably going to have more leverage to get more of even some of the club money, and like, if in your contract, because, you have that kind of a brand, or Zaiwu or Monesi, whatever. Like, if you're going to negotiate a contract, you're probably going to get more of that. But it is reasonably good guideline, but really people should look at it as kind of like a combined thing.
Yeah, because like I said, for the general user, for the general person who watches this tournament, it's just the prize pool. It's just semantics of, like, the money is all going to the same entity. It's just how that money gets distributed. That's it.
Right. Yes.
Okay, so taking a look at this next one, ESL also have something. We said Blast had the frequent flyers. Well, ESL have annual club incentives, which does not contribute to the VRS. So the annual club incentive is the second component of club compensation and is designed to reward teams for their contribution to the ESL Pro Tour in the form of tournament attendance, viewership, as well as promotional activities related to ESL events. In 2025, the annual club incentive will reward 16 teams with the largest contributions. A total of $2,950,000 will be distributed amongst them based on the size of their contribution. This is a non-exclusive program available to any team that wishes to participate. Now, if you go onto ESL's website, you can find it. There's a form. You can read the form. It's like a Google Doc. It has all the things that are required of the teams who want to do this, media obligations, all that type of stuff. It's there for you guys to go find and read. If you're actually interested, it's all there, because, again, this has to be public. So the annual club incentive will be paid out annually, makes sense, it's in the name, in Q1 of the following year to the top 16 teams with the highest contribution, as measured by the formula above. Same thing, you can find it in that document, and distributed pro rata. I don't know what that means. I wish that I was smart enough. For example, if a team had 10% of the total club contribution among the top 16 teams, they would earn 10% of the 2.95 mil, right? Which works out to be almost $300,000. So the formula, you guys can look what that is. It's like viewership thing, and then there's like attendance thing, which are metrics that are measurable, and per what we read from Valve at the start, is a KPI that you can base these type of
And it's also
incentives
different.
What
on.
does,
It's also,
what
it
does
also
KPI
different.
mean? What does KPI mean, Chad?
I don't know. I just
Sorry, I
know
didn't
that-
want to put you on the spot. It's key performance indicator. So
There you go.
essentially, literally anything that is trackable that you agree that it is
Right.
important metric.
I was going to say it also differs. This formula, I think, also differs based on events that it's that
Yes,
it's tied
because it's
to.
length of event.
It's a bit
etc.
complicated,
Yeah.
but I mean, as you said, like people can find it. It is slightly different for each event. It's more heavy towards some events, less heavy to others. But yeah, I mean, this 10% thing is actually pretty good, I think, indicator of what like the really good teams will earn, because those are like, let's say the NAVIs, the FaZes, whatever, like all these teams that always have the mass G2, always have a huge pool. They're going to have like more than 1/16th of the share, obviously, like it's going to be a pretty decent chunk of money that those big orgs will get effectively for nothing, just for turning up and providing their brands to the tournament, and being able to get that money. Of course, this is also based on how far they go into the tournament, because the further you go, the more matches you play, the more viewership you can get and all that stuff. So it's also kind of performance based on some level, right? But you can imagine that this is very clearly geared towards kind of the most popular teams, the biggest brands, which makes perfect sense, right? I mean, you want as ESL to incentivize those brands to come to your event, because those will bring the biggest viewership. You can sell that, you can give that to sponsors, you can show like we had this.
I mean, you have more viewers because NAVI and FaZe are playing versus, I don't know, MOUZ and
I mean, we saw it
Gamer
with Cluj,
Legion.
right? I mean, the difference between Kato and people can go check out these sports charts. Like the difference between Kato and Cluj, and even to some degree Bounty, was fairly significant, and that's literally down to some of the biggest teams not being there.
Yeah, I mean, just overall, this club incentive kind of similar then to Blast. Like Blast is 2 million, this is 3 million, but the Blast one can go a bit up on that. So, and it's kind of what we calculated, kind of roughly maybe 200-ish thousand for a team. It seems like kind of similar numbers that at least the top end teams will be getting, right?
Yes.
So it really depends. Nothing is really certain. So many parameters there, but yeah.
And as the Blast frequent flyer had requirements, so does the annual club incentives. So the teams must follow these criteria: participate in tournaments they are invited to, including main tournaments and closed qualifiers; commit to a core set of promotional obligations for the tournaments they are invited to, aligned with current tournament requirements. So that, if you go read, is to like media days, etc. Teams may opt out of up to 3 tournaments within a 2-year period and still remain eligible, subject to these conditions. Teams may opt out of 2 events they were invited to within a single year. In a 2-year period that includes an ESL event designated as a major, replacing an existing event and therefore freeing up calendar space, teams may opt out of 2 events as they were invited to.
That is an interesting line, by the way, that I also only noticed quite recently when I read it again.
This is so funny, actually. I don't know. It's very funny phrasing. So you can opt out of 3 events, but since Cologne is going to be a major, you can actually just do 2. So fuck you. It's so funny.
Well, it's one way to announce it.
Also, it's also curious to that effectively kind of confirms, that like Cologne will be a major, replacing an existing event, that thereby freeing up calendar space, implying a major will be an existing event that is already on not a new event that BSL will put on,
Now,
so they will not have 7 events in a year. They will still keep it to 6, and then one of them is just going to become a major.
I want to just go to the last slide quickly, because I want to address some comments in chat and ask your guys' opinions on them, because this is where the community's perception of this is very different to mine. So lastly, ESL also have the Intel Grand Slam, which, as you guys know, is 4 events that are rolling. You need to win over that's like 10 tournaments, right, from your first win. And one of them needs to be a Katowice or a Cologne. So there's another incentive the ESL offer, but it also does not, contribute to the VRS.
Yes, right.
Okay, so that ends my TED talk. I'm going to stop sharing now, Dimitri. Okay, so let's talk about Rocky Zarko's statement, which is basically a way of franchising teams without the franchising tag. Do you agree or disagree with that sentiment, gentlemen?
Strongly disagree. I mean,
Striker? Oh, Prop,
I
you
don't-
go. Let's see.
no. Striker can go as well.
No, I was just going to say whether I agree or disagree. You can say your point.
No,
I can
no.
continue.
First you say if you agree or disagree, so I know how hard I need to go.
So if I disagree. I disagree.
No,
Yeah,
I
Prof.
mean, what is franchising? What does that mean? Franchising means like, we are together building something. Like at least my understanding of franchise leagues in like American football, for example, not the European soccer's, is like you buy into the league. You are a part of the league. The team is a part of the league. They are one and the same. In some ways because they share everything, right? And in what this is like, hey, you're a big team that is bringing people in seats. Your players are doing signing sessions. Your teams are doing media days, doing interviews, playing going deep in tournaments, bringing viewers. So we'll give you something for that, to essentially, allow you to keep building and coming back to our tournaments.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
I mean, it is effectively like like let's say like you just give them appearance fees. Does that make it a franchise? It doesn't really, right? Like, I mean, that's just all it is. Like, they're just incentivizing those teams to come to their events. It's not, nobody's forcing anybody. Nobody's like, not all the, as we see with Dallas, for example, I mean, some of the teams skipped, or Melbourne. I mean, both of them. Some of the teams
skip Dallas than Melbourne, but yeah, I think G2 skip Melbourne.
And ultimately, like, these teams you can't, as a TO, invite your quote unquote franchise team just because you like them, as we can see with NIP now, for example, that has been with Blast and ESL. They can't even come close to that because the ranking is not good enough, and they can't get shit from either of them. That's just how it is. Like,
the thing that I'm having a qualm with is the sentiment is framing Blast and ESL as the bad guys for offering incentives to try and lure these orgs that they were previously in bed with, right? But to their events. So they already had these relationships. The Valve came in and Valve said, hey guys, you can't do it like this anymore. We are changing the rules. This is not possible. So then both Blast and ESL went and created models that they thought would work to incentivize these teams to come to their tournaments, which, as we've just covered, is all public in terms of the way that they have to show these incentives. That we've just gone over it. All that information I got was all from the internet. That doesn't mean that ESL's is best, or Blast is best, or PGL's is best. It means that we have 3 TOs who are offering 3 different versions of tournaments. And we will see what the impacts are of skipping events, of going to events, of what having a lot of LAN events at a PGL with a larger prize purse will do versus going to a Blast bounty event and half of it's online, right? So look
that chat got triggered. I see. I see.
Yeah.
I mean, the key difference here is that anybody, like, let's say somebody like whatever Spirit, like, we can use them as an example, as a really good example, because they were neither. Well, at the end they were in Blast, right? They weren't in ESL, but that's the team that just came out of nowhere and started dominating. I mean, maybe not dominating is not the right word, but started winning tournaments, and now they're one of the most popular teams. They became one of the most popular teams just through merit alone. Literally, they did not whatever cheat their way into tournaments or like get free spots. They earned it, and they became one of those big teams now where they can get their hands on some of these big incentives because they have Donk, because they have become a team that consistently competes for titles without any of these incentives at the beginning of this campaign. So anybody can reach out and get this if they are good enough to reach out and get this. Nobody's getting anything for free. NAVI could drop out, as we were talking about earlier, out of this incentives if they keep skipping some tournaments or whatever, or if they don't do well enough. They will feel the pain very quickly. Like, we see how quickly the ranking can punish you for that, and the same goes the other way. I mean, the opportunity for overturn is quite high, as we see with Cluj. Like, you just could do well at Cluj and you will shoot up very quickly, and you do well two PGL tournaments, you will shoot up very quickly, and you will enter all those ESL tournaments, and you will get the big incentives to yourself, if you do that for long enough. So it's not it's nowhere near what we had in the past, because that was always only going to select teams every time. Nobody could enter that structure unless they bought in and gave something to the other teams. So this is different. This is entirely based on merit.
Which is
sorry. No. You had a point. I have a different point.
I was just gonna say, which is the whole thing that Valve were hoping to achieve, which they are. And over the next year or 2 years, we will see how these TOs adjust their models based off of the response that the orgs have. Right? The orgs, again, just for people who are just joining us, is referring to the teams. Now, you go with your point, Prof, because I want us.
I mean, just what you were saying, like how the TOs will change based on orgs, but orgs also might change their approach based on the TOs or the situation with the VRS, like how things are developing. A team like NAVI is like, we're not going to go to Cluj. Maybe this bites them in the, or like Liquid, for example, that's maybe a better example, that because they're in a worse situation, having like being overtaken by pain now. Being overtaken by pain in America and Mongols and in Asia and blah blah, the whole story over there. Like maybe they'll be like, okay, we actually can't do this consistently. We actually need to go to PGL events. So then maybe PGL doesn't have to change anything. But also, if PGL changes things, how is that gonna affect? Maybe Blast. People understand, like, okay, Blast has lower prize pool, and even if the good teams are there, we need to beat so many good teams to get the amount of VRS that we can get more easily if we split, all the top teams. Some of them go to Blast, but some of them don't go to Blast, and some of them go to PGL instead. So, there's going to be a bit of, I would say, like, it's kind of it's not like a black and white thing where someone is good, bad, whatever. Some people are worse than others, but generally, everyone's just trying to figure out a way to have their business model and their company essentially be successful. And I think what is pretty interesting is like just comparing Cluj and Blast Bounty, because they're so different tournaments, but they took very different approaches. Like Blast had all the top teams because they put all the money into the essentially pleasing the orgs, making sure that they say yes and they are committed to it. And that was also like the first tournament of the year, so it has some novelty to it, but it's also half online, half a studio event. So if you look at it from a viewer perspective, in my opinion, Cluj was like 5 times better, more interesting, even though it didn't have the biggest teams. But the viewership did not reflect that. The viewership, if you go on esports charts, Blast Bounty actually beats it in all categories. It did go on for longer, but it did also have higher average viewership, higher peak viewership, right? So then who is actually doing the better job and for what, right? On the other hand, PGL sold tickets, which is worth something, and having an arena event is worth something because like the advertising on an arena event is different than an online event. That adds a lot more, 5,000 people in seats is worth a lot more than 5,000 people watching online. I think everyone understands this, but it's like, it's just a very interesting thing to watch and be like, who actually won here? And I'm not sure who won.
I think comparing Cluj to Lisbon is going to be a better comparison because it'll have the top teams and when past the first event of the season. So I think that those comparisons will be like a more fun comparison, both arena events and one with the top teams and one without. So that'll be something to keep an eye on there. But I think that, like, when I look at this, because the dialogue at the moment is ESL and Blast are still running pseudo partner leagues, right? And we're literally seeing people in our Twitch chat right now who think that, who are like writing things along those lines. Like people genuinely think that. But as we have discussed, with most of these things, they have to be merit-based. And then the other ones that aren't, like the frequent flyer program, you still need to qualify to those events. So you still need to be high enough in the rankings, right? And then we don't even know how that split's going to work out. But the reason that the
only thing that feels a bit off about that is the wildcard stuff, because they got an exception for being able to host the wildcard. They're being the most egregious about it as well in terms of how they're using that opportunity, because they're handpicking. They're literally handpicking 4 teams for their 2 big boy events, effectively. Like they're kind of the most select events, and they're effectively handpicking teams that are going there. So like that to me feels very partner leaguey, very
Yes.
like trying to keep the status quo, and I don't like the fact that they got that exception, because they needed to host one more event per season to be able to do that, and they didn't, and so it should have been a much bigger investment for them to be able to do this. I'm pretty sure that's not going to work out this way from next year. They're not going to get that same exception again, so it's going to change. But yeah, those ones I am feeling very iffy about, because effectively it means that the teams that decided to side with Blast are effectively never going to get punished for that, even though they will lose out
In
on the
VRS,
rankings like
yes.
crazy. Because effectively, if you look at the first season, Liquid will essentially not lose anything as long as they qualify for the major, because all the invites already went out.
They're already out for Dallas.
All the invites for the first season already went out, so the major is the only thing that's left effectively. And then the rivals, they could get an invite, which is wildcard, which just has nothing to do with how they performed in the season. So that part,
They could get it for Asia or America.
that's the thing I'm not so sure about, because there's something in the rules now that like it effectively says like if you subdivide the that's part of the new rules now. Like
let's not go.
Let's not go into it. I'm not 100% sure they can apply for that. Let's just say that.
I want to bring up one final thing, because we spoke a lot about the tournament organizers. The one thing that I do want to talk about is these teams who I've just been labeling them as a cabal, right? The teams who decided to skip PGL. Those are the teams who, by not going to PGL, are essentially, as a group, collectively, and I wouldn't include Gamer Legion in this, so Gamer Legion, you're fine. But the rest of them
also not group, Spirit, by the way.
Spirit are not part of the gang.
No.
Oh, they just skipped. Okay. So Spirit just skipped because they didn't want to go there. But the rest of them, Vitality, Navi, Liquid, Furia, G2, those 5, I was counting on my hand, I promise. Those 5, as like a little collective group, essentially choosing to skip said event, are trying to apply pressure to PGL to change the way that they structure their incentives that we just went over, right? So whether that be prize money distribution and them also starting to use the term like club money, or, coming up with some version of like a revenue share, those orgs are essentially leveraging their weight, right, to be able to apply pressure to a TO and say, we will not come to your event, which we know will have a big hit on viewership because we're some of the biggest orgs in all of the space. We have some of the most popular players in all of the space, and we will attend the other events that are willing to give us these incentives, even if it means it's going to cost us in the VRS. So that right there is the thing that the people at home are missing, because I see a lot of labeling of people saying this TO bad, this TO bad. They're trying to do partner league. No, they're trying to get these orgs to attend their events. Whereas these orgs are putting pressure on PGL, who are the ones who are deciding to do things the purest way. If you roll everything back and you look at the way that PGL are doing it, it is the purest way of running a Counter-Strike tournament. They're 1.25 million, a good format. You come to our event and you win $400,000. That's pretty fucking sick. The others have had to create different ways to be able to incentivize these orgs to come, and that's probably based off of their previous relationships with the partner leagues and the way that they're invested with one another before. But they also would have these guys on the dog and bone saying, hey, we want money for this, we want money for this, and they've essentially had to come up with these things to help satiate the need of the orgs.
Right.
So
and PGL said, we're not taking part of this conversation. Yeah. We're putting this in prize money, and you guys figure out how you want to take that from the players, essentially, or not. And in theory, that just makes sense. And why does everyone else have to like cater to the orgs because they have these existing contracts with players that they made themselves? But at the same time, it was a different time, so that made sense then, and doesn't make sense now to some degree. And it's just a kind of it's a mishmash. It's like no one's right or wrong. It's just the situation we are in with. Then some people can also say, why aren't players? There's a insane situation happening in the sports. Yeah, I mean, why aren't players saying anything about this? Why aren't players like, oh, I want to go to this tournament? Why are people stopping me from going to this tournament? But this is, Chad, something you've been speaking about for a while, and you have insinuated at least that this was a option given to players but they would need to give something back for that option. Like if you are, as a player, want to choose which tournaments you're playing, then, you know, as an org, we are losing guarantees. Therefore, your salary should be lower, or you need to give up something else in the deal. And essentially, no one from the players wanted to take that.
No, you
exchange.
as a player, I think you would expect most of them. I would say probably 95% plus, especially the guys at the top end, would prefer guaranteed salary over having to go to tournaments and win. To put
Again,
but that's the point. But that's why, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
That's what the orgs are doing as well. That's literally what the orgs are doing as well. They're like, ESL is going to pay me this just to show up. Blast is going to pay me this to show up. I'm going to take that over, you know, going to PGL. That's it.
Yeah. All right. Strike, you got anything to add?
No, it's just kind of, it's a bit ironic to me and like almost funny in a way that all of these orgs are willing to band together, and by the way, they're also getting more on board or trying to put pressure on others to come on board, or you know, to join that cause, let's say, and put more collective pressure on, even though, you know, to effectively extract more money out of others instead of trying to band together to keep the costs down. You know, because if enough orgs say, okay, we're giving the players a bit too much of everything right now, you know, more of them come together and, you know, collectively decide, okay, we're going to scale this down, or at least we're going to work towards scaling this down. Let's put in place some, whatever it is, salary cap or some sort of a percentage cap over how much we are willing to give these players for prize money, for the club share. Like there's just going to be a cap, and we're all going to uphold it from a certain point of renegotiations or whatever like that. That's a way that, you know, you don't have to keep others accountable for your business and others accountable for the mistakes you've made with your business and how much you've ratcheted up salaries based on money that was never going to last. And we knew it wasn't going to last from, let's say, a year and a half ago when Valve first announced that this was going to stop. I think it was Cologne 23, right? When we first heard about it, or when they announced that there were going to be changes from 2025. That's a year and a half that they had to adjust their approach, and only now am I hearing that some of the players are like the contracts are starting to shift a year and a half later. You know, of course, some of those deals lasted longer than that and all that stuff, but like there was so much more they could have done in that time, working towards this, being able to anticipate this ahead of time, because we knew already at that point how the circuit was going to look this year. And we knew a lot of it ahead of time. We knew the pie was going to get spread across more teams, so you would get less guarantees, all that stuff. So why didn't we start working towards a place where it's more sustainable for you as well? Why are you trying to, you know, put pressure on tournament organizers to give you more money instead of, you know, for you to be able to sustain your business on your own accord? You know, like I understand the need to, or I don't even have it. I can't even blame them for the fact that they want to leverage their own brand, because they bring huge value to tournaments, especially when we're talking about these big orgs. You know, we're talking about whatever Vitality, NAVI, FaZe, G2, you know, some of these ones that we said obviously bring massive value to tournaments. They should be rewarded for that value, of course. But you know, this banding together and this even getting more teams on board to put more pressure on the tournament organizers to do it for you, it just doesn't quite sit right with me, you know, and how much effort is being put into that as opposed to, you know, the incentive to try to keep costs down, you know.
I think that if you take a look at what was probably like guaranteed to these partner teams from Blast and ESL when the agreements were in place, they may have made some decisions for the long term off of that. And then Valve came in and changed things, which essentially did Blast and ESL a favor, because they no longer were committed to those kind of high expenditures over that period of time. And then those orgs are now needing to probably recoup the cost that they thought they would have had guaranteed money coming in, or at least a certain level of that money guaranteed to a point. So I can understand, again, like I agree with you that like that them leveraging their position, it makes sense because of who they are, but it just shows you that like we talk about sustainability in esports, and I think last time we spoke about this, Prof, I think we landed on the fact it'll never be sustainable. It just is what it is while it is. We're either in a good period or we're in a bad period. Like there's no model that will ever like, it's like fucking self-perpetuating energy. Like that doesn't exist, right? Like
But you know where it started, right? I mean, it's all like the place where we went kind of overboard. All started with, you know, New York's coming into the space and just getting money for it, then that was never going to return.
Overwatch,
you know, and
was having some crazy valuation
like
for a fucking Overwatch
all
team
that stuff
shit,
like was happening across esports, not just in Counter-Strike, you know, but Counter-Strike was kind of like in the crosshairs, or how would you call it? But like that's when it started happening, and you know, these bad actors will always come in and make the situation worse, right? I mean, if you look at, like, I will throw out an example like Falcons, right? Obviously, they came in with some crazy money, you know, and they are pulling some of this. What happened?
Is it the Spirit one?
No, a guy in chat goes, Cabal is a Mongolian player for Atox, no?
What about Spirit Cabal is to play boom boom bada boom events for Dunk's MVP farm.
Right.
That's
sorry, Strago, I just read that.
No, it just kind of it's derailed my train of thought for a moment.
Sorry, yeah.
You know why, Striker, that's not possible? Because as soon as one org would be like, hey, NiKo, I'm going to lower your salary. Yeah, the next one would be,
that's what
hey,
I'm saying.
NiKo,
Like,
I'm going to sign you.
That's what effectively like was kind of rumored to have happened with Falcons, right? That he just got a much better deal. And that's effective. But that will, of course, always happen, that there will be some org that comes into the space with so much money that like people will just be unable to say no to that. But like if you let that affect you, it will just keep cycling as we've been going so far, you know, and that's not going to be sustainable. Maybe you're going to become the best team in the world, but you're going to become the best team in the world at a cost that is, you know, 5 times as big as the second best or whatever, you know, if you don't let it affect your business practices, and you're going to try to get money that you can't, you know, provide a return on, you know, all that stuff. Like it's kind of crazy that we've been in this position for like 10 years and orgs are still not really learning from that experience. And, you know, it's just getting worse in some ways. And of course there is more money in the space, so there's more ways to recoup it, but it's still clearly unsustainable for a lot of those parties. We know Blast isn't sustainable. They keep getting new investment from the good Danish government. We know ESL is not sustainable. They kept getting new investment from way different places. As far as I can tell, or at least, you know, with the way that PGL are talking, they are the only sustainable tournament operator in the space at the moment. That's according to them. I don't actually, there's nothing I have that I can confirm that, but at least they claim as much. Whether that's going to keep being the case with the money that they're kind of now putting on, who knows? They're kind of splurging at the moment, you know, so I'm not sure where that's coming from. But
no, they got Trance who does the sales, and Trance apparently knows how to sell better than everybody else, which I believe him. I don't know. I mean,
he's the Twitch guy, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
He probably knows the metrics better than everybody at all these other businesses.
Right. I mean, they have a lot of partners, obviously, in various regions that are helping for sure. I mean, that's also probably partly the reason why they're going to Astana and all these like kind of new places, right? And I mean, that's like all this stuff is pretty impressive, to be honest. Like it's crazy if they are able to do that even during this time. You know, I'm curious if that's going to be the case.
Okay, I'm gonna just throw it out there. Maybe true, maybe not true, but I would say running an arena event in Astana, Belgrade, and Cluj is together cheaper than running the major in Austin. This is my opinion. Yeah. Purely not speculation, but approximation based on vibes.
I mean, we knew it from before, like when ESL were hosting New York, like the arena costs and all that stuff were kind of through the roof, and that was never going to be sustainable for them. You know, they could never get that back because of, you know, the way it worked with security, you know, the amount of time, like payment, like the amount of money you have to give just to be able to host it in those arenas in America is just crazy, you know. So yes, 100%.
This is my experience running like Confirmed in Dallas one time versus running like events anywhere else in the world. Generally, it's like, okay, 3,000 euros, whatever. Let's say for this, just number 5,000, 10,000, and you're like, okay, this is the number, this is the deal. We're doing this. Fine. You go to the US, 3,000. Oh, you want this? 500.
Yeah.
This 500. Overcharge, extra charge, service fee.
You can't
tip.
plug this in yourself.
Well, now it's 6,000. I'm like, what? There was 3,000. No, now it's 6,000. It's like, what the fuck? They're so good at capitalism. They're so good. They didn't invent it, but they mastered it. That's just it.
All right, boys. I wanna get some vibe checks just on a couple of community sentiments that have come out based off of the show that we've done tonight. One, a guy made a thread. So I know it's partially trolling, partially.
Where's the thread?
HLTV. This one is confirmed.
Confirmed.
HLTV confirmed. It says they're saying Vitality, Spirit, and Navi are afraid of VRS. That's why they didn't play in Cluj. we didn't say that at all. Then
afraid of VRS points. They don't want them.
There's a user further down who said they skip the events because they have a secret contract with ESL, by the way.
Someone wrote this in chat as well. Like, no one said that they have a secret contract. Well, I'm not saying they don't, but no one ever said this.
So I think because Immer,
I know who said this.
Is it because of Immer and the Instagram story?
I mean, not that he said this, but how it kind of affected other people. Let's say.
Okay.
I know what people have insinuated that this could be one of the.
I don't understand what you're saying, Striker. And
Richard Lewis.
Okay. I didn't get this one.
There was just like on YouTube, just literally like a day ago or something.
Okay, so there's insinuation that these teams have a secret contract with ESL. That's the question.
One more time.
There's insinuation that these teams have a secret contract with ESL.
I mean, I don't know if it's an insinuation, but at least it's one possible version of events that he presented. Let's say. I mean.
Okay. All right. Well, that would be very bad for ESL, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah. That
would be bye Counter-Strike. Like that's literally going against everything. So I guess how would we go from here? Oh, someone's replied. They just talked about your thread. You're lying according to Jane. That's true. True. That guy is lying.
He's not lying. He's speaking untruths.
We definitely didn't say Spirit, Navi, and Vitality are afraid of VRS, guys.
Actually, banger phrasing. I actually wish we said that. I wish we said that.
That would have been much better than what we did for the last hour.
Can we get like someone to Photoshop like these teams as, you know, Lord of the Rings, one of the starting scenes when the fucking Nazgul is like hanging over the tree and they're like the hobbits hiding below. I would like to see that.
Okay.
Also, HLTV forums 2025 vision, HLTV forums, green pastures, toxic free environment of great discussions, sometimes maybe a bit, you know, feisty, but fair. This is where we're going. This is my promise to you, voters.
Okay.
Vote for me.
Was president 2025.
President of HLTV.
Okay, we've been going for well extended, but thank you guys for letting me do that thing. I thought it was important that we talk through that with people. I know most people won't even watch it and they won't care, and they'll just keep saying like, "Man, look at Blasted ESL still doing franchise leagues."
You know
and
what
that'll
the problem
still
is?
be everyone's opinion.
We let malbs go, and then we were like, "Okay, this is the after show," and everybody was like, "Yeah, okay, I guess we can get out. This is not going to be interesting," and we just ended up going for another hour and a half.
Yeah. Oh well. Okay.
Chad, do you have a secret contract with ESL?
I have like a retainer deal, which is pretty nice. Actually, maybe I'm misusing retainer, but like I if I want to, I can work all of their events. That's essentially what it says.
It sounds like a retainer.
I have the first right of refusal, which is
all right.
Nice.
That's a good one. I like that term.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's quite nice to have. All right. Well, we've been going for 3 hours and 20 minutes. I guess it's probably time that we go to bed. This is my second podcast of the day.
I saw you released the other one.
Yeah, I recorded that one at 4. So
for any NA people, Prize Pick NA Revival Series returns, but also the Dust 2 Masters is the applications for that are open. So head over to Dust 2 US and support that. I know we have a lot of viewers from US, and maybe you're not like a good player. You can maybe just play just to, you know, support the cause.
That's nice. All right. Support the cause, everybody. All right, going to bed now. Goodbye. That was HLTV Confirmed. We had malbs. That's brought to you by 1xBet. Remember to gamble responsibly, and Skin Place. If you're in the market to sell some skins, head over to Skin Place. Goodbye.
The world is changing quickly. Shut up. The world is changing, but one thing remains the same. Victories with 1xBet.
Sell in-game items at the best prices in just a couple of clicks. We are the biggest instant sell service for in-game items like Counter-Strike 2, Dota 2, and Rust. Easy selling process and instant withdrawal of funds to the most popular payment methods. More than 140,000 deals and 50,000 active sellers every month. Use promo code HLTV5 and get a 5% bonus on the sale of your skins. Skin Place. Sell items now.
It was more than a game. It was everything. Every single emotion on display. Not a moment missed. This was CSGO through the lens.